This is 12 Gauge Investigative. Let's jump in.
All right. How's everybody doing today on this Wednesday? I just thought I'd hop on because, probably like the rest of YouTube, we've been checking on that hearing that happened today. Whoa, what a day. What a day. I don't know if you watched any of it, but hopefully I have some people in here and I have some panel guests that will be up here discussing it with me and giving me their insight and their understanding of what we saw today. There was a lot to be gone over. It depends on whether you're the side of the court or whether you're the side of the emotional driven. Me, I'm not emotionally driven by this case. I'm not emotionally driven by even what I saw in the hearing today. I did see a lot, I did hear a lot. And hopefully, you know, um, I can find a good link to kind of give some highlight to what was shown today. I don't even know who would have it that would mind me using their stuff or not. So, hey, Dolphin, do you think that Salty would mind me using her live for the hearing? That way we can go over a little bit of it. If you have her direct line or something, can you ask her? Also send her an email. So I sent her the link. Okay, you're watching from your phone. All right. Um, so let me see if I can find it. If she does have an issue with me, then I will turn it off. Salty, by no means am I trying to do anything but borrow this because I was at work and I didn't get a chance to talk about it. So we can talk about this a little bit. If you are watching, please go over and give um Salty a like. Oh, long crime, you're right. Let me do that. I'm sure everybody's kind of tired of hearing about it, but like I said, I was at work all day, didn't have a chance to really freaking talk about this. Okay, you're so right. It's just so low. Hold on a second. Let me turn the camera off right quick because I don't want to get violated by YouTube for playing this. Hold on, let me put a speaker on. I actually tripped on this freaking thing last night and almost took my whole computer out and everything else. Something happens as you get older. I don't know. Whatever it is, I hate it. I feel like my equilibrium, everything is off. Do you think I could claim? Oh, there's Nina. Hey, Nina.
Hey, what's up?
It's kind of loud over there.
Oh, is it loud?
Okay, you're better now. It was loud there for a
Oh,
second.
why'd
How
you
you
have
doing?
me up so loud?
How you been?
I'm good.
What'd you think about the court today?
How are you doing? You
I've
know
been doing.
what? I think Brian Koberger is so.
You cut out there for a second. What?
I think he is so screwed.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit before I get into this court stuff.
I
I
mean,
invited I invited Salty. Hopefully she'll get the email and come up.
oh,
Because
okay.
y'all obviously watched it and I didn't get to watch all of it because there's bits and pieces that I saw. And I'm sure y'all watched more than I did. So
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's I may have missed like 30 minutes of it,
yeah.
but the really good part is what happened with the judge and Cyree.
Yeah, I know in the beginning they were talking about the traffic stop and
Yeah,
they were
yeah. It was the
discussing.
traffic stop and what was it? The evidence, like the uh, being careful not to just keep graphic pictures up there just to show just to what would say make the jury think about it. You know what I'm saying? That if you
Right.
show them down,
To show any kind of prejudice toward the
right?
jury. Well, let's start off, and if people come in, they can catch up. I'm not playing anything they haven't already seen. So here we
Okay.
go. It's always a welcoming sight when you see that court will begin soon.
It was
I
a
thought it
long
was.
one.
I
Koberger
thought it
Senior
was. Here we go.
0124-31665. We have representing the state, Mr. Thompson, Ms. Jennings, and Mr. Horowitz. And for the defense, we have Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massoff, and Ms.
I'm doing
Barlow.
good, Chick Bay.
Ms.
How are
Barlow,
you?
Mr. Horowitz, welcome to the fray. I think I saw you back there. And Mr. Nye is here as well. I apologize for missing either, Mr. Nye. All right. Today we have a number of motions to get through. What we don't get through today, we will take up tomorrow. You should have received by email a listing of score sheet of the motions and a rough order that will take those up in.
Is that too loud or is it okay? Am I too loud or is my vocal okay?
Separated into groups. Within the groups, we may not stick exactly to order, and we may take up several within a group that are related at the same time.
Okay.
And so with that, let's take up defendants' motions in limine regarding inflammatory evidence, use of the term murder, and use of the term psychopath or sociopath.
Okay. So before we go into this one, I did see this part. He is gonna the defense is gonna present the case that to use the term murder is kind of biased toward their client, and it could paint a picture in front of the jury even before, and psychopath, wanting them not to use the word psychopath. And by all means, any of you that were in Salty's chat today and y'all watched it alongside her, if I'm wrong on any of this, please correct it in the chat. I don't mind if you do, because like I said, I wasn't watching every second and I could get some stuff wrong. So if I'm wrong on some stuff that's quoted or said, please correct me. You're more than welcome to do that, as long as it is something that was stated in the hearing. Did you hear anything different other than that before we continue on, Nina?
No, I did not. That's exactly what I heard.
Okay.
I mean, I have to say that he's pretty point blank, and that's the way he keeps the court.
Like you said at one point, he probably has a pair of Wranglers on and biker boots under that.
I mean, that's just what I can imagine. The first time that we ever saw him, he went to cross his leg, and you could see the blue jeans under the robe. And I was
Right.
like, oh my gosh, I bet you he's got a pair of black Harley Davidson motorcycle boots on with those jeans. And he's sitting there going, I could be riding my Harley right now.
Right, right. Hey, Sirius, I hope that you feel better. I hate that for you. Here we go.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm guessing from the court's comments, the court wants me to address all three of those. I'll do that then. Your Honor, the motions are brought to the court based on Mr. Koberger's constitutional rights and the rules of evidence and relevant case law. With regard to the inflammatory evidence, that is requesting that the court issue an order preventing the state from trying its case with an emotional appeal or an excessive use of emotional phrasing or an excessive use of repetitive photographs. Certainly, we understand that there will be photographs that we may not like that come in, testimony that we may not like that will come in. But what we're talking about is an excessive use of emotional appeal. That the examples that we've seen in relevant case law come from State versus Ellington. In that case, the prosecutor repeatedly used a phrase that was inflammatory about the defendant having run over the wife of a witness who was testifying. And that was found to be inflammatory because of the excessive use of that phrase.
Okay, before she goes on, I did notice that during this hearing, if anybody used any kind of emotional appeal to anybody, it was the defense. And I'm being fair there because there was at this one point where they were talking about the family, and I mean, she all but cried. She all but fake cried on that podium. Don't you think, Nina?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, I think that they're put, yeah, they're definitely more emotional. I mean, you can tell that the prosecution is more, I guess, standoffish, I guess, total business. And I mean, I
One
don't
thing
know.
that I noticed about this whole thing and some of the other hearings that have taken place is people have this notion that these attorneys are emotionally involved with this client. They
Yes,
take it
yes.
as the defense is emotionally involved in Brian's guilt or innocence. The prosecution's involved in the emotional aspect of guilt or innocence. Hell, even today they were saying the judge is, being prejudiced and, he doesn't know what he's doing. They need to get rid of him. But isn't this the same crowd that was yelling for change of venue because they were scared that people were going to storm the courthouse and burn it down? But yeah, I've seen those same type of statements today in other chats.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I
Isn't
mean,
that
it's like
interesting?
if he makes a decision they don't like, it's like, okay, we're not going to get a fair trial. Okay, well, you've already had your change of venue. This is what you've got.
Hmm.
Be careful
Yeah,
what you ask.
I saw you, Leslie and Billy, today. You were handling your business in a chat. I saw that, but people just weren't seeing your side. That's so sad, but you were holding your own. You were holding your own. Um, and that's what's sad is, we can listen to the same thing without having the emotional outrage that this person giving them a nickname. They've already nicknamed this judge.
Right.
And it's not a good nickname. I mean, they've given everybody on the prosecution a nickname because they
Exactly.
feel because they feel that the defense is not getting a fair shake. Well, if you really know about the judicial process, the judge has no other job then to make sure that whatever motion or whatever kind of evidence is being brought into the trial eventually, that it is done legally, without
Right.
prejudice, without coercion, without any of this. And honestly, what you're going to see is the defense doesn't ever have much of evidence to support their accusations or their theories of what the state is doing or not doing.
Well, I
And
mean,
here,
I guess in a way I can understand the more emotional because they are with Brian Koberger in person.
right,
Unfortunately, prosecution doesn't have, that they're getting justice for a memory now.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? They don't have that personal contact.
I understand that. But at the same time, Anne is trying another death penalty case,
Oh,
and nobody is lining up to defend his innocence.
yeah. I mean, I sit there today going, well, what about him? Why don't you go over there and try to get his death penalty taken off?
Right,
If you don't have time for both of them, then you go to work on Brian Koberger's because he was there first. Not that he's more important, but and you
right,
get the death penalty took off of his case, of the other person's case.
right. I mean, that's what I was thinking too. Is like you took over this other person, but you're not trying to get his death penalty removed, but you're trying to get Brian's. What?
Right.
I don't. Let's see what continues on.
Additionally, in that case, there was an appeal to juror emotion when the state sought testimony from a witness about why he might have left his job. Those are examples of what we're talking about. Um, the court has to do the rules of evidence balancing test, and to do that after the state has elicited inflammatory testimony is difficult to undo and puts Mr. Koberger in a position where the jury's already been inflamed. And so we're seeking to prevent that. Your Honor, I will move then to our motion regarding the murder term. This motion is also based in Mr. Koberger's constitutional rights to due process and to a fair trial. This is not a motion to ask the state not to use the term murder. That's going to come out when the court reads to the jury the charging document. That's going to come out in jury instructions. This motion is about the state, through its witnesses, labeling Mr. Koberger. That invades the province of the jury. Mr. Koberger sits here today. He's innocent, and it's up to the state to bring evidence and a jury to decide if that's different. The state, by using that kind of term as applied to Mr. Koberger.
Well, how could you even consider that being a label? They're not using that in every court document claiming the murderer did this, this, and this. They're using his legal name. I haven't heard him be called a murderer by the state in one document or even one regards while they've been
See, I don't,
speaking.
I don't think I've seen that either.
And that's
I'm
what I'm
trying
saying.
to. They
You
always
know,
say either Mr. Koberger or the defendant.
never have you heard them label him a murderer.
I
So
don't.
to put this motion out there or psychopath, I understand that, during the trial you might, try to paint a narrative that, he might have psychopathy or anything like that. But I've never heard a trial where they've called anybody a murderer outright like that or a psychopath. I don't know where she would have got that from.
Yeah, because I mean, I can't see prosecution being stupid enough to bring up psychopath, sociopath, or anything like that because they're not psychiatrists.
Hey, Leslie and Billy, can you unblock Envision? I don't know how they got blocked, but if you have the ability to unblock people, can you go through there and unblock them? Because you said hello and I can't see them. Can you see them, Nina?
Uh,
There's a lot of people that, people say hello to, but I can't see them. So I know I didn't block them.
Or gets in the way of what the jury needs to decide.
I
Back when
don't
we
see them.
were looking at a change of venue in this case, we worked with a social scientist named Dr. Amani
Yeah, I see 'em.
Al-Halili, and she talked a lot about how bias is made in people and how we
I
think
can
about
see it
things and
too.
how we remember things.
I can't
And
see
one
them.
of the things she talked about, and her report is in the court record, one of the things she talked about is the influence of people in a position of authority. And for the state to come in and label Mr. Koberger in their position of authority or ask a witness, especially a witness in uniform, to do so is very detrimental. It's inflammatory to Mr. Koberger, and it would
Outside of opening statements, perhaps, where the state might say, we
Oh,
intend
there
to
she
prove
is.
the
There they
defendant
are.
murdered the victims. Perhaps in reference in voir dire, that, in this
I
case,
see
the
'em.
defendant is accused of murder. I'm having a trouble understanding how this would come up during the evidence phase of things.
Your Honor, that's why I'm asking the court to issue an order to prevent it from coming up.
Sounds like you're asking me to issue an order that says the state shall not commit prosecutorial misconduct, or the parties will follow the rules of evidence.
Your Honor, I would like an order that the parties will follow the rules of
I'm
evidence.
sure the state would like one too.
I'm not going to oppose that, Your Honor. We'll get to the state's motion.
I don't think I need an order because, as the name implies, they are rules, which means they will be followed.
Your Honor, in an abundance of caution, we bring these motions, and that's based on review of case law and based on years of experience. When things happen in trial, I found and I believe that it's relevant to bring these kinds of motions before the court now and have all of the parties aware of.
I think there's maybe a difference between bringing them to make sure that the issues are highlighted and the parties are vigilant versus perhaps entering sort of prescriptive orders that are so broad and vague in nature that they are essentially meaningless.
Your Honor, this is my opportunity and the place that is reserved for the defense to bring these motions. I think that they're important motions, and with court's orders, it makes it more clear. Even if the court order isn't spelling out, you can't say this, you can't do that. I think there's an awareness, and I think it's relevant to have that order. I think it's important to have that order, and most of all, I think it's protective of Mr. Koberger's constitutional rights to have that order. That's our request with regard to.
Well, I do understand her point. I really do. And I'm not trying to say, he doesn't deserve certain things. That's not what I'm saying tonight. And I don't want that to come across because, I do want a fair trial for this individual. And if there's evidence to support otherwise, that there be a manner of guilt in the end, with the jury comes to that agreement, then so be it. I'm not going to be on the jury. So, they're going to have to be the people in this case. So as far as labeling him a murderer, what do you think on that, Nina? Do you think that holds water?
I don't think he should be labeled as anything but defendant.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as trial and court, because that's what he is in that setting, is the defendant.
Right.
So I don't
I
think they
mean,
should label him as anything, murderer or anything.
listening to all this stuff, it's like they're accusing the state beforehand of something
They're
that
borrowing trouble.
they've already done subliminally. Does that make sense?
Right. That's what I call borrowing trouble.
Right.
It's like, hey, we expect this to happen. Well, you know what happens when you expect.
Right. Technically, you can't label him a murderer until he's convicted. You're right. And that's not what we're
Right.
doing. None of us are saying that. I respect her effort. I respect the fact that she's trying to defend her client. But when people get to the emotional attachment that these lawyers, this judge, has that kind of emotional attachment to his freedom, that's when it goes a little too far for me. You know?
Well, I mean, that
Or psychopath.
I don't
Right.
understand. I guess I don't understand the whole let's let's dang cult up and fight for one person, but not fight for the others like that.
I don't get it either. I don't get it either. But you know what? It is what it is. People are entitled to do as they wish. It just, I guess one day it'll make sense. I don't know.
And if it don't, okay, we'll go to the next
I mean,
case.
if it don't, it don't. I mean, I'm still gonna hold on to my beliefs. I'm not, you know what I mean? It's like
Exactly.
kind of like looking at him in the courtroom today. He looks totally different than he did last time he was in the courtroom. He doesn't
Did
look.
you see how big the females, how much taller than him they look? They must be Amazons.
Yeah,
I mean, their heads are above his.
I believe they're probably wearing high heels to
No, I
look
mean,
up.
sit down.
What do you mean?
When they're sitting beside him, when it's the three of them at the table,
But I'm
their
sure
head,
their chairs look like they're up a lot. You know,
yeah, but what I'm
probably
saying is it
to
makes it look weak.
right to probably to show that he's not that much more impeding upon
Right.
them sitting next to him than
Oh, yeah,
the
I totally think it was a optical illusion, whatever.
yeah.
Like we talked about with the pictures that night.
Yeah, I've heard that all afternoon.
What?
They are calling him names and saying he needs to go. Yeah, no, the females are sitting in different type chairs. That's true.
But I think it's set up that way.
Yeah. I mean, everything in these hearings, everything that's said, everything that's implied, everything that, you know, everything is set up for future
Now,
stuff.
I do have to admit,
Even what they're talking, even the defense talking the way they do, they're setting it up. Kind of like you're going to hear later on about the 3D model.
uh-huh.
She set that up a long time ago and she knows it. Let's go on with it.
Yeah, she's
Yes, Your Honor.
definitely using the court to go against the gag order
Your Honor, if the
Right.
state is stipulating not to
because
use those
she is
terms, I don't need to
saying
make
to
a full argument
intentionally get
on
it out
that,
to
but
the
I'm
public,
prepared to do
and
so.
she's going right up
I'll
to
be
that
brief.
line, but not crossing
And
that
with
line.
that, we brought
Right.
this motion again under Mr. Koberger's constitutional rights to a fair trial and due process of law. This motion is really spelled out in Dr. John Eden's affidavit when he talks about the unreliability of tests that might label somebody in that particular way and the danger of having that label applied to somebody. If that's allowed to happen, then Mr. Koberger is colored with an opinion or a way the jury will view him that is unfair. And our request is that the court not allow the state to label him in testimony as a psychopath or a sociopath because any kind of testing is unreliable. That would relate to, or that would become problematic within the rules of evidence to do so, and the inflammatory nature of those kinds of labels would.
I'm not aware of any testing that has been done that has reached that conclusion. Am I missing something?
You are not missing anything. There has not been any testing. There has not been any labeling. This again is my opportunity to bring a preventative motion to protect Mr. Koberger's constitutional rights. And that's the purpose of that motion. Thank you.
And you know, watching this whole thing, I mean, I'm not going to play the whole thing because I'm sure everybody's watched it. If not, we're going to skip over certain to other motion. But um, the fact that she keeps playing on the word fair trial. I heard fair trial all through this. I heard defendant's rights. I've heard all that stuff. But the judge also said something else that stood out with me. The state also deserves a fair trial. It can't be one-sided for the defense and it'd be fair for one but not fair for the other. And a lot of times that's what it seems like. I'm echoing. Okay, hold on. Is that any better? Is that better? Anybody? No? I'm still echoing. Damn it, this thing is annoying because it's so loud and so. Hold on. I have echo cancellation. Way better? Okay. Okay. What I was saying is, it has to be fair for both sides. If you want a fair trial, if you want a trial to be governed in a certain manner, you can't be. I mean, the defense is going to push. They're going to push and push and push to see what they can get. But it doesn't necessarily mean that what they're saying is always relevant to what's going to be brought out in court. Like today, these things that they were arguing at the very beginning to be called a murderer, a psychopath, a sociopath. We read those in the documents. There's a reason they don't want all that stuff because they're foreshadowing what could be said by the prosecution later on. And they don't want that to be brought in because who want that to be said against their client? Does that make sense, Nina?
Yeah, I mean, whoa, I have a big old echo.
Is your voice up a little bit? Is your volume up a little bit?
I didn't think so.
Okay, can you say it again?
Hello?
Okay. All right. What did you say, Nina? It cut out there for a second.
Okay, so is the echo gone? Because I busted my eardrum.
I think so. They say no echo. We sound fine.
Okay.
Okay. It's tough
No, I
because it's
mean,
so low. Go ahead.
but but I guess I just can't get past that this hasn't been done. I mean, let's talk about some things that they have done, not what
Mhm.
they may do. And if you'll remember, one of the things he kept saying was, "You expect me to be the fact finder." He's trying to tell them, "Okay, look, you can take care of this at trial. You can ask the questions, you can debunk it, you can, what is it, impeach him. I mean, don't expect me to go ahead and take care of all the dooley dallies. That's what you're going to do at trial."
Right, right. And this
And I
was
don't think that makes him a bad judge, and I don't think that it makes him appear to be one-sided. I think what
right.
he's saying is you'll have your turn at trial.
But also, it's when they go off course. It's like they're asking for the motion for one thing, but then they go on a storytelling about five other things that isn't even relevant to what they're asking.
Oh yeah,
You
I mean,
understand?
somebody just made in the comment that they want him to not be judged by how he looks at the table, but then manipulate his chair to where he looks meek.
Mhm. Well, let me go
I
on with
mean,
this.
if you're just honest, don't judge what he looks like. Don't make his chair.
Let's go to the next point. Let's see. The next point is
That he, as opposed to others, drove that vehicle.
Correct, Judge. And so when this video comes in, it's much more than a witness.
okay. Now we're going to
purchase
get to the video.
2004A. We're just hoping that that mischaracterization is not made in front of a jury. But considering the court's comments this morning, as well as defense counsel's comments, that there shouldn't be statements made whose sole purpose is only for an emotional appeal, I think that this is settled. And a defendant replied basically saying the same in their response, that they suggest he use phrases that comport with existing language and statute and jury instructions. And that's what the state is asking for. Thank you.
Any response?
This next part's about the video pullover.
Briefly, Your Honor, we're satisfied using language that's already spelled out by statute, by jury instruction, and that sort of thing.
All right, thank you.
So with respect to this motion, I think the ruling is really sort of encompassed within my, for lack of better term, ruling or instructions about argumentative comments or statements of counsel. The example spelled out by the state, I think, would fall within that category of being argumentative and would be improper by counsel. And so obviously that shouldn't be done. And so they should comport with the language and at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way that is not argumentative to address that issue. And so they are so ordered. All right, let's take up 404.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Traffic stop.
That's all.
Your Honor, as it relates to the unnoticed 404B evidence, I understand what's been the discussion on similar verbiage and concerns earlier. However, one of the things that I think it's important to note about this is that although the state has agreed that they will comply with the rule, what we do have so far in self-authenticating records, it's our position is already two mislabels of the evidence. And the specific examples are that technically the DeSales paper, the way that the state wants to use that, would fall under 404B as other act evidence. It's a 2020.
It's a bad act.
It's the rule says other acts to show knowledge or plan. And so the state has expressed that they plan to use
How you
that
can use
paper.
it. It's,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
That's how you can use it under 404. The way you can't use it is a prior term of colloquial term is a prior bad act to show that the party acted in conformity with that they have propensity to commit bad acts. For example, as it relates to the traffic stop, I suppose the concern is, well, he committed a bad act of not wearing a seatbelt or following too closely, and therefore he's likely to commit murder. I mean, that's how the rule works. I'm confused about your statement about the prior academic paper, how that would possibly fall within 404.
Well, when in the self-authenticating pleading that the state filed about the DeSales document, they indicated that that shows that he has knowledge of cleaning up a crime scene. So our position is that we don't want to.
Well, clarify me if I'm wrong. Doesn't the fact that he went and got his master's and on his way to his doctorate, you don't think he learned along the way how to do even more than clean up a crime scene throughout all his education? I don't really put a lot of weight on that final term paper, but I could be wrong. What do you think, Nina?
Well, I mean, he does. Boy, I might need to come out and come back in. Is it all jumbled?
Say that again?
Oh, okay. When I spoke the first time, it was all jumbled up.
Okay.
And I hadn't been drinking.
All right. Nobody said
But-
you had.
No, but I mean, the thing about it is they can't, I don't know, they just confuse me though, because they just go back and forth on, okay, we want it this way, but can we have it that way? I mean, can't we just have it all and you just let the state sit and be still?
Like I made a comment earlier, and I'm going to stick behind that comment. I said, they want everything thrown out except the fact that the defense is the defense. They don't want their client to go to the death penalty. They don't want them to get executed. I get that. But
Here's what I did.
at what point can we just go to trial already?
Okay, that's what I was. Okay, I did not know really. I thought I might know a little bit about courts and stuff, but I didn't because I did not know they had to go through all of this as far as what words you can use, stuff like that. I thought that's what objections were.
Well, it usually does. In most cases that I've seen or been a part of, they don't put so much emphasis on words or shirt that might be worn or who can be seated where, or it's
Yeah,
like,
I was like, my gosh, there's not going to be any objections. They've already got the rules.
I mean, to it just drawing it out, and it's almost like if she draws it out as long as she possibly can, then they're setting up for an appeal. You get what I'm saying? Like the more time that goes by, the more chance of a mistake being made by the prosecution or the judge, and they could later either use that as an appeal if, he does get found guilty, or, some kind of, you know, motion for dismissal, because of something that wasn't done right, or, because as you notice, she continues to repeat herself and makes these kind of bullet points where she changes her voice. The same thing with Massoff. They change their voice to emphasize that this is important. And we want you to know that we've taken much time talking about this. So if you rule against it, do know that you're going to hear about this later on. You get what I'm saying?
Well, everybody's like, oh, well, you don't want it to get a mistrial. You don't want it to be brought up on appeal, and I understand all that, but you don't have to walk on eggshells either.
Right.
Just do your job, and it'll turn out the way that well,
But
it may not turn
but
out the way it's supposed to, but it'll turn out the way
this
the
is
jury decides.
this is her job. This is her job.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just do your job.
And like she specifically stated, at one point she said, I could stand up here and not say anything and put the burden of proof on the prosecution, which I don't understand why she just doesn't do that. If she believes
Exactly.
that everything that they have is just circumstantial, as she stated today, then why don't they invoke their Fifth Amendment right and stay silent? Don't call them to the stand, you know? Just stay silent. Let the trial go as it's going to go. If you are that confident that your client has, or that the prosecution has no way to present this case where a jury is going to find him culpable of the crimes, then let them do their job and get on with it. Quit
Right.
stalling. Quit stalling. Chat, what do y'all think about this so far? I know that, you probably watched this earlier, and I'm not trying to put you all through that whole length of time because I'm going to have to do another video on this. I just wanted to start it tonight to give you guys a little bit of, you know, foreshadowing. But what do you think
Some
about,
what we'll be going into in comments.
well, yeah, what do you think about what's being said so far? Some of you are coming up with some great chat answers already. I hope this I hope this judge sticks to the date. I do too. AT seemed to be acting like she wants more time. She always does. She always does. He better not give her more time. I don't believe he will, but we could be wrong. She is stalling. She's lazy. To be a successful
Yeah.
cleaner, mostly about experience learning from cleaners. OJT. I think it's already a done deal. I mean, if we look at it in one aspect and not about guilt or innocence, but based on just the knowledge of the case, it's not hard to see If you listen to what is being said by the judge, if you listen to what's being said by the defense, if you listen to what's being said by the prosecution, it's not that difficult to make up in your mind what exactly is being done here. This is what, the fourth hearing, right? Is this the
Right.
fourth one? So this is the fourth one. And there's only so much that the judge and the prosecution is going to be able to want to give the defense. To be fair for everybody, you have to be able to meet in the middle somewhere. And they try to do that, and that's what the judge is for mostly, is to make sure there's not any shady stuff going on. And as he's pointing out, when he cuts Ann off, he's not doing it to overpower her. He's not doing it to flex his judge muscles. He's not doing it for anything other than he doesn't want her to try this case in the public forum. When she gives out all those little nuggets of this and that and the other, she's not advocating for a fair trial for her client at that point. She, like he said, it sounds like you're testifying for your client at this point. You're giving your opinion as substantial evidence that has not been presented on either side.
Right.
So without calling her a liar, he's basically saying you're saying shit that ain't true, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. The way she does it, though, is like I said, it's as close to being a lie as it can be.
Yeah. And the thing about, let me get to that part, Nikki Bobby, because I thought that was quite interesting also. Anybody in the chat, did anybody not see this?
And that
Because I will go over
video
it again
depicts a
tomorrow
vehicle.
or the next
There are
day.
several views of that video with vehicles in it. The state will
What did you not?
also use other
Okay.
videos that depict vehicles or a vehicle in surrounding areas. As they said in their response briefing, they do not have one continuous video loop. So the state's piecing together several videos and calling them all suspect vehicle number one. That
Is this the part where she's talking about Sarai?
No.
No?
Uh-uh.
Okay. How far
Oh, wait a
down?
minute. Wait a minute. His is about the cash report. I think this is just the identification of the car. You know, the 2011 to 13.
Bushy eyebrows, I think, is next. This is a defense motion.
DM is considered an eyewitness. And eyewitness testimony is some of, if not the most impactful testimony in a trial. The testimony must be.
Okay, this is the 911 call, right? Is there any questions on? Is there any questions
No, I
about the?
think.
Excuse me. I have to turn down and turn up. I have to turn down, turn up. Because of this, the sound on this hearing is so bad.
Oh, you ain't kidding. I would have it down when one was talking and up when the judge was talking. And
Hey, Bianca, how are you doing? Thank you for being here. I think it's after this because
Be
this is the
subject to
911
close
call.
scrutiny before its admission is allowed. We seek that the use of the descriptor bushy eyebrows be excluded from use at trial.
See, I didn't
Because the
catch this
witness
part.
with this descriptor is completely uncertain of what she remembers, and her description is derived from seeing the intruder for only a second. Whether this court applies Manson-Biggers, which I would say is not completely right on point because there wasn't a photo lineup and there wasn't a show up, or the court considers the science behind memory. The criteria you must look at is what factors influence the accuracy of the memory and make the testimony reliable, because reliability is the linchpin in determining the admissibility of identification testimony. Between Manson-Biggers and the science of memory, there are several factors that are consistently considered, and I'm going to go through a few of those. Factor one, what was the opportunity to see? This is also known as first phase of development of memory, or the acquisition phase, and distance, lighting, and duration of exposure are important. DM is uncertain about the lighting. The stairs to her left were not lit. The kitchen may or may not have been lit. And the twinkle lights in the living room may have been lit. She described seeing the person for, quote, only.
Okay, you see how she did that? The lights in the kitchen may or may not have been lit. We all know damn well that those patio lights were on. There's plenty of photos that those patio lights were on. The lights in the living room, the good vibes light was on. The lights on the wall by the TV were on. You know, it's just too much sometimes.
A second, end quote. The person may have been 3 feet from her, or he may have been walking to exit out the back sliding glass door. The back door is further than 3 feet from her door. And
You see how they're doing that? Because in the paperwork it said he was 3 feet from her. Now she's adding he may or may not have been 3 feet from her as he was walking out the door. Reasonable doubt. That's what that is. That's what that's called. Implanting that seed of doubt. And that's what most people want to do is they want to plant that seed of doubt. You might know what you know, but if somebody says, but really, was it really 3 feet, or could he have been further away as he was walking out the back slider? We know damn well in the paperwork it mentioned that she didn't see him leave. We know damn well that in the paperwork it said that she was 3 feet from the perpetrator. So all this is just planting reasonable doubt. And if they get this motion passed where they can't use the word bushy eyebrow, then this is their argument. They're trying to plant reasonable doubt in the in the judge's mind as well. How do people not see that? How do people not see that?
They don't see it because they don't want to see it.
But do you see it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, let me tell you, she can word salad like you wouldn't believe.
How about
I
you,
mean,
Chad? Do y'all see it? Do y'all see the reasonable doubt that's trying to be planted? Or do you
the whole time, every time I've watched them, the way they say things,
yeah,
when they say, I mean, it is all, they're very methodical, and they're definitely strategic.
it's reasonable doubt. That's their job, to plant the seed of reasonable doubt. If I plant that seed, then I can already manipulate anything that I tell you. So the next time that you do hear me say, okay, the defendant was 3 feet away, as it's mentioned here in trial, you say, yes, I misspoke. The defendant was 3 feet away from Dylan. I know I said that it could have been as he was walking out the door, but I've been corrected. But she just planted reasonable doubt in what she just said. That's what she just said.
But I mean, and I think, I mean, yourself, I don't agree with the techniques, but I have to say she's good at it.
Well, of course, I'm not saying that. I'm not attacking what she's saying or
Right.
her. I'm just saying that there's a process in all this. You cannot take what one of these attorneys says based on what they're saying and just take it as concrete face value. There's a
And I
reason
think
they use the wording that they do.
at one point she says, well, if you don't let this in and he gets convicted, how mad do you think the juror is going to be when they find out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting here thinking, what happens if he gets off because of the stuff you're saying and he's really guilty?
Yeah.
Do you
I
know
mean,
how bad those comments are going to be?
but you know what? People don't understand that aspect, so they're emotionally connected and driven by it. And even Anne's whining is a ploy. You
Oh,
ever
yeah.
notice she whines as she's explaining something? Even when she's trying to get aggressive, she is whining. So as she's whining, that is a ploy to play on the judge to see that her point should be taken seriously. It is total BS, but that's what attorneys are paid to do.
And it's not
It
visible
should
from
be,
where
yes.
she was standing. We submitted 2 pictures as our exhibits to show you the vantage point of where she was standing in her bedroom. Her opportunity to see supports unreliability. Factor 2, the witness's degree of attention. This is where amount of alcohol has a significant impact on the analysis. She described herself as, quote, probably very drunk, and given the amount of alcohol she told law enforcement about consuming the entire day, that makes
If people are really smart, they're hearing what both sides are already going to be presenting in the trial because they're giving you the highlights, and all that's missing is the witnesses to cross-examine on these statements that they're giving. So, Miss Mortensen, you stated that you were half asleep, or were you asleep? What precisely did you mean by being in and out of sleep, or not sure if it was a dream? She's already planted that seed of doubt right now. So when it's heard later on, it's a rehearsal. It's a rehearsal.
See, to me, I mean, that's, and I know it can't be said, but that's when I wish Dylan would look up and say, you know what? I was drunk. I was half asleep. Some crazy bushy eyebrow dudes walking through my house. I don't know if it's a nightmare. I don't know if I'm just hallucinating or whatever. I know I'm scared. I run downstairs. Now, can you tell me how your ass would have reacted?
Well, we don't know. She's not going to be saying it like that. Let's continue and listen
I
to what
mean,
she
percent.
said.
my
She
God,
started with
they
champagne
have said
mimosas
that
in the
she made
morning, then
statements
White Claws
and it's
9 to
always
10 throughout the day. Then that night before she got home, she was involved in a drinking game and drank Borg, which is hard alcohol and flavoring. Her degree of attention, given this, supports unreliability. Factor 3, the accuracy of the description. Her description is that she saw a person wearing all black, not insanely tall. She doesn't know if she saw lips and nose. She is certain he is white. She never mentions eyebrows herself initially. The person who asked about eyebrows was law enforcement. In her second interview, Detective Mowry asked her if she saw the eyes, saw eyebrows. She never said anything about bushy eyebrows. Then in her third interview with Detective Gooch, she said she didn't know what the eyes looked like or the color of the eyebrows. That's for the first time that she mentioned bushy eyebrows. This lack of accuracy supports unreliability. Factor 4, what is the level of certainty of the witness? In each of the 5 interviews, she says over and over again, she doesn't know if anything she says is accurate because she felt like she was in a dream state, frozen shock, fuzzy and cloudy, like wearing blurry glasses, influenced by alcohol, and sleepy. She has an absolute lack of certainty. This supports unreliability. Factor 5, the science of memory looks to confabulation. When the acquisition of memory, the first factor that I talked about is impacted by emotion and stress. In this case, that is an important consideration. Confabulation is defined as the creation or substitution of false memories through later suggestions that fill in the gaps of missing memory. DM expresses in each interview how she was afraid and did not know what she was hearing, and also contradicts.
See, they're saying that during the interviews, eyebrows wasn't mentioned because I'm sure each interview was focused on one different aspect of that whole interaction.
But what I think everybody's failing to remember is the state has already made the statement firmly that Dylan is not being used as an eyewitness for identification. She is only being used for the timeline and the direct exit, travel of exit.
Can you say that again for the people in the back?
For the people in the back, she is not being used for identification, you know. And as far as, okay, if I say, you know what, Gage, I only saw like where his eyes are or something like that, and you say, okay, let's talk about that. Were his eyebrows fleshy? Were bushy? Were they straight? Did he have eyebrows? You know, you would ask questions to get me just in that area.
There's
So,
nothing,
okay,
there's nothing wrong with probing. You can call
right.
it leading, but it's not a leading question. A leading question would be, so if you were looking at me and I had a mask on and I had something to cover my head, what's the one thing you would focus on? Would it be my eyes? Would it be my eyebrows? Would it be my nose? Come on now, think clearly.
And I do know one statement she said was, I know that he looked at me because I saw his eyebrow
What
or in
part?
that direction.
What part would you? What part, Nina?
Yeah,
What part would?
exactly. I didn't expect you to see his neck. I mean, you know, if you're looking at,
What
I
part
mean,
did you see as he was walking by you 3 feet away from you? What did you see?
his
Now, did I
eyebrow.
ask her? Did he have a nice ass? Did he, was he walking
Right.
funny? Did he stumble? Did he, did he do any of this stuff? Who knows if any of that? I mean, I'm sure the
Come
nice
on,
ass.
dude. I gave you everything I got. Bushy eyebrows and a hand back.
Come on. I'm not trying to be facetious, but it's like, come on. She's half out of it. I mean, anybody who's ever drank more than one or two drinks, you're gonna be a little hazy, especially if you keep waking up, going into that almost sleep, and then you get woken up again. How many of you have sleep paralysis at your age right now? If you ever had that when you were younger, you know exactly what that feels like. You know?
Right, exactly. I mean, that's the thing about it is, I mean, she's being as upfront with them as she can. I
The
only
brow,
saw the guy's eyebrow.
the brow, Bo, the brow. You do that because I'm sure somebody saw. I mean, it's only human nature to check people out, but she wasn't checking him out. She was in her room seeing a dude walking by her, and she's thinking, "Who the fuck is that?" And he's wearing
Or yeah, you can see that.
a balaclava, and is this a joke? Am
You
I
know, they
really
brought
a
that
woman?
up about how, that they showed her a picture of it and told her what it was called and everything. I can just see Dylan sitting there going, look, dude, it wasn't a ski mask. It wasn't a toboggan. It wasn't a ball cap. This was something like I've never seen. I don't know what it was, but all I saw was this freaking eyebrow.
I mean, even looking, I'll have to ask AR. Did you see his eyebrow? Because there's AR right there, and he's in almost the same kind of angle that Dylan would have been. He's further than
I
three
don't know. I
feet.
have to argue. I think that's more than 3 feet away.
I know, but
Yeah.
even with AR's eye problems, I'm sure he could see that bushy eyebrow right there.
Oh, no, they've had them groomed.
Of that same 1A transcript, DM talks a little bit about that morning when she woke up after whatever happened in the middle of the night happened inside that house, that she reviewed the text messages.
You notice she said whatever happened in the middle of the night. She can't
Yeah,
even,
I sort of thought that was a little old.
she can't even say 4 people were murdered that night. Why?
Right.
Why can't she say that? Whatever happened in the middle of the night. Whatever happened. That means anything could have happened.
I don't
More.
know. I mean, I guess if I'd have been there, I'd have said, you know what? There were 4 innocent lives taken. That's what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Texas, somebody made a comment on Facebook about Twizzle digging in his ears and looking at it through the whole trial. It makes me laugh at the comment that you made in Salty's about Twiz. I mean, he was all over the place too back there.
Between her and BF from the night before. She was busy from about 9 o'clock in the morning on her phone. She was on Instagram. She was on Snapchat. She was on Indeed. She was editing pictures sometime in the night as well.
Editing pictures? Where is it ever written that she was editing pictures?
But the thing about it is, so what if she was? If she's on Snapchat, if she's doing this, or she posted at 11:15 a.m. She posted a pic on VSCO. That proves right there she don't know there's 4 damn dead bodies in her house.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Twiz. But victim blaming is not a good look, Ann. Victim blaming is not a good look. See, I try to whack that middle thing down right there, so just not one straight across.
Okay, that's not a bushy brow. That's a unibrow.
But
This is
yeah,
not somebody who was asleep and then woke up and was startled. She is actively reviewing things that happened on her phone and communicating with other people.
okay. So when did Dylan and Bethany go on trial for murder?
Exactly.
When did they go on trial for murder? Because the way you're talking, Ann, it's like they weren't supposed to be doing what they were doing. Because how dare they be looking through their phones or staying the night in the same room? I mean, when did they go on trial for murder?
Did you read the G statement about all this, where they say that they want everybody to leave those girls alone, that they could not, that if they had called 911 right then, they could not have saved a life. And I wish that's from a parent that has buried their child. If anybody would have the room to say, what if she'd have called 911? My child could be alive. They're sitting there defending these two. You don't defend the people that are involved in your child's murder. Well, okay, in the case of Angie Dodge, the mama did, but that's because, but you know what I'm saying.
But
But they're sitting there going, they
this
could
case,
not have been saved.
victim blaming is not a good look. Not a good look. And the fact that she's acting like they're on trial. Is he flipping the camera?
Now, if there is a disagreement, transcript.
Well, the state has offered to allow the defendants transcript that they had certified.
The fact that certified doesn't make it otherwise independently admissible. It's hearsay. The transcript.
Well, it's a transcript of the 911 call. I believe that it could be self-authenticating.
Excited utterance and present sense impression of the earlier 4 o'clock text, I guess is my point, because those are afterwards. Those are after they retreated to the room together, and what happened there happened there.
constructed outside of a way I know anything about.
You had access to the house and you know what the house looked like and you have photographs.
I do have,
I like
Item
this part.
is-
She walked the damn house. She knows what the layout is.
The demonstrative evidence.
They call it the dollhouse.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah,
In our motion regarding demonstrative evidence, we were talking specifically about, for lack of a better phrase, a dollhouse, a not to scale construction, a 3D model of the residence itself. And as the court can see from the materials that have been submitted, the configuration of this house is unusual at best. Certainly we can use diagrams and floor plans, which we did at the grand jury. But it struck us as we were looking at this case that it would be particularly helpful for the trial jury to actually be able to see in a 3D sense how everything's laid out, what is on each floor, where the bedrooms are, how the first
Well, for
floors.
it to be demonstrative evidence, what's important is whether it explains the testimony of somebody on the stand and helps the jury understand it in relation to the testimony. And the concept of a demonstrative exhibit is that it's actually part of their testimony.
Yes, Your Honor, that's exactly what I was getting at. What we contemplate is the witnesses being able to use this demonstrative evidence to demonstrate where they were, where the rooms of their roommates were, where the entries to the residence were, what they observed, and where everything was located. So it's not.
Well, I was talking about the house. I wasn't talking about the roommate, the surviving roommate. I was talking about the house right here where both the prosecutor and the defense attorney were able to walk through that house before it was torn down. They were able to walk through it multiple times before it was torn down. They take evidence photos, probably with the bodies in there and also without the bodies, and throughout the duration, measurements, and all kinds of stuff. So they're able to get a visual of what it looked like, what the angles were. Her argument was that this 3D dollhouse, for the lack of a better word. Okay, Nina, I'll see you in a minute. For the lack of a better word, could have the propensity not to be having the door angle correctly or the furniture in place correctly or any of that, which, as the judge said, you were there, you had photos of it, you know what it, you can't act like you don't know what it looked like on the inside. You can't act like you don't know what the layout of the whole place is. You know, so it's very interesting.
It's not intended as a standalone exhibit that has significance. It's only a tool for the witnesses, not just the roommates, but the responding officers, the officers who investigated the crime scene, to point out to the jury where in this 3-story structure certain things were that they observed. And so that is our intent on this. We initially contemplated offering a 2-scale model. And the defense, I think rightfully so, said, okay, well, give us the background information and data that would be relied on. And we requested that, and for whatever reasons, we didn't get it quickly. But as we revisited, we realized that to scale maybe is not what we want. We just want a demonstrative exhibit that witnesses can use, much the same as a sketch, or if they would take a flip pad and try to draw things to help illustrate their testimony to the jury. So that's where we ended up here. We look at the balancing test under 403 as far as relevance. We believe this will be helpful to witnesses and explain to the jury and to the jury in understanding witnesses' testimony. As far as prejudicial effect, the state doesn't perceive any significant prejudicial effect. Now, I realize that the expert witness for the defendant talks about jurors misinterpreting angles of view and stuff. Well, That would be true if we were dealing with a 2-scale exhibit, and the defense is welcome to offer their 3D imaging or whatever it is that they want to, if they want to have a 2-scale presentation. That's not our intent, though. Our intent is just
And that's a good point that the judge made. You know what? Y'all had the opportunity to make your own model if you didn't want to use the prosecution's. Once again, whatever the state is doing is not good enough, or we don't want to use that, or we don't want that brought into evidence. But yeah,
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is they're
Go ahead.
using the way I look at it is they're using the crime scene recreation guy that helped solve Tupac's murder. So he obviously would know how to scale a model.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of trivia for you, Chad. I didn't know that. Say that again, Nina.
Oh, Nodale is the crime scene recreation and expert like that. And he's the one that did the trajectory and everything as far as the shooting of Tupac. 95% of his expertise is ballistics.
Okay.
Huh.
And that's where everybody is saying that these individuals were shot.
Yeah. But you hear that little click click that sounds like, doing a gun and behave, Nina.
Hydrate and take your meds, as Rondi said.
simply to have this as a tool to help witnesses explain their testimony and help the jury understand.
And I think you understand this, but so that, it's clear. If it allowed as a demonstrative exhibit, it's not an exhibit in the sense that it goes to the jury. When they deliberate, it will not go back.
Yes, we completely understand that. We intend this to be something in the courtroom that is physical, that the jury can look at and the witness can look at and point to things so the jurors have the most complete understanding of what their testimony is.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
I said they could have had a hologram for all I cared.
Well, if you think about it,
label it a demonstrative exhibit.
To the jury and to the jury and understanding witnesses' testimony.
It's constructed outside of a way I know anything about.
You've had access to the house and you know what the house looked like. And you
There it is.
I do have those things, but if there's a slight shift in this 3D model, it's going to be more difficult to depict that. And that's a lot of runs around to try to get our expert to take a look at this, to try to get our expert to pull the 3D picture that would show that this model's wrong, and to try to get the jury to want to listen to all of that, when the best and easiest thing for the court to do is just exclude it. This is not a model that will do anything but cause the jury to speculate.
What, Nina?
It could
I
easily
think you're not
produce
supposed to be easy.
testimony
It's
that's
a
not
murder
true.
trial.
The jury might be relying on things, and likely will be relying on things that are not true. When you look at the case law that talks about demonstrative exhibits, you're looking at things like PowerPoints. You're looking at, that's in the Weigel case, whether or not the demonstrative exhibit should go back to the jury. When you're looking at the Masters case, it's an exact car seat. That was a civil case. It's an exact car seat, like was in the case at bar at that time. Here, this demonstrative exhibit that's going to be large may or may not be accurate. Conversely, I have the photographs, so does the state. I've been in the house, so is the state. There's 3D imaging that was taken by the state and by the defense with all of the thousands of photographs and all of the people that have been through the house. There's no reason to take a chance on this exhibit that will be speculative and will confuse the jury. To allow this is allowing the state to ignore the discovery process. They're just slapping a new label on this model and saying it's not to scale, so we don't have to disclose anything to you. To allow them to rename this is a violation of Mr. Koberger's constitutional rights to due process. This should absolutely not be allowed. Mr. Koberger has we have done everything we can to be apprised of what the state's going to do. And at the last minute to pull this out after we've asked in discovery for this and to label it a demonstrative exhibit, Your Honor, that just can't happen if Mr. Koberger is to have a fair trial and if his due process rights are to be adhered to. We strongly object and ask the court to order
There's
this.
that word. There's that word again. Fair trial. We know. We get it.
Yeah, I
Everybody
think
wants.
that's
Everybody
that's
wants
like
a fair trial. Everybody wants a fair trial.
yeah.
We get it. We get it. I think the last thing people want to do, if they're really honest, is sit through another appeals trial.
Right.
If he gets guilty and then he goes on appeal, I'm not talking about this case no more. There's nothing to talk about at that point.
Oh no, no.
It really isn't. Because then it's going to be like what they didn't do, what she set up for the appeal, all this, that, and the other. And it's like, no. So,
And this is the thing about it is she said, it, you know, it wouldn't be right to call it demonstrative, whatever that word is, demonstrative. I don't
yeah,
care if you call it a dollhouse or whatever. Take demonstrative out of it. I mean, I think it's demonstrative.
hmm
I mean, who cares what it's called?
Dates that were wrong, page 1, item number 2 of our motion. It should be July 27th instead of July 22nd on that particular court filing from 2023. We overlooked, and I apologize, the defendant's July 24th, 2022 initial alibi response, which, as the court can see, essentially wasn't a response at all, other than we'll come up with an alibi at some point. And then page 2, item number 7, it should be February 29th instead of February 23rd for the date. And I apologize to the court again for those oversights, and they're certainly entirely my fault. This issue has been argued back and forth in court since 2023, as the court can tell from the numerous filings that have gone back and forth up in Latah County that brings us to today. The state filed in accordance with the applicable rule and statute 19-519 and court rule 12.1 discovery.
and take this to mind, we still don't have an alibi. Not one
Yeah.
that can be workable.
I mean, I would hate to know that I couldn't say where I was. I don't know. I was riding around.
Yeah, this is the part with Cyree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. There's some rude ass people on YouTube, I swear.
Request with an alibi demand that requires the defendant to specify the place or places that he claims to have been at the time of the alleged offense, and then identify witnesses who the defendant intends to rely on to establish that alibi. The state's position is that to this date, the defendant has yet to do that. The best that we have is the defendant was out driving around. Well, we knew the defendant was out driving around. We have other evidence that show the defendant was out driving around. His phone was turned off, so we can't trace his exact location at the time of the offenses, but it overlaps and coincides with the time of the murders.
I think if there was any booms in this hearing today, this was it. What he's about to say and what they're about to discuss, if there was any booms in this whole thing, it was this. Because
You
there
know,
was
I've really been surprised though that some of the, and I hate guilters or whatever, but some of the people on that side of it has not put out more research on Cyree, because I have a ton of research And I can tell you right now, my opinion of him going to work for the defense is because he was getting kicked out of being an expert for the states for prosecution for not being reliable. He is not any kind. No, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. But anyway,
Keep going. You're good. You know,
no, I mean,
we don't muzzle
you know,
people here.
there's like 5 states that he has been found unreliable. His stuff has been, called junk science. And then everybody wants to say, well, how can you doubt Ray? He's the one that invented this stuff. He created it. Bullshit. He didn't create it. I mean, he may have created and made whatever he is, in his product. What is it? Something X. Anyway,
It don't
uh,
matter. Yeah, everybody
yeah.
knows.
But the thing about it is it's not reliable. There are 18 cases right now in Colorado that they're going to have to go back and look at because come to find out his testimony was not correct and he lied about his expertise. So, hey, if I'm a big shot doing this and this and this, and now nobody uses me, I guess I better go work for the defense because whatever they pay me is what I'll say.
Right. That's why he said, I allow myself in the future to change my mind if I find out that there's more
And then
information.
somebody said he worked for the FBI. He does not work for the FBI. He was an officer in Arizona. He does not work for the FBI. He did not create all this cast and time detailing and all that. He's not as big as everybody thinks he is.
But whether he is or whether he isn't, the fact of the matter is, if you're going to put yourself out there, be ethical. Be ethical.
Yes.
He didn't need to say what he did in his affidavit. He should have been ethical and mentioned the 7 days. I mean, that's all it would have taken. But to just take the stance to bash, the attorney and to create all that drama, I mean, this isn't a YouTube case. This isn't being tried in court of YouTube, no matter what people think. There is a court of law and there's procedures for that. Whether
And
people agree with them or whether they don't, or whether they call us names or whether they don't, the sun's gonna rise and the sun's gonna fall. And we're gonna
and
get up.
just to clarify for Darth Square, I know that he's supposedly doing this pro bono, but think of the recognition for defense that this man is getting. He's not stupid. He knows what uh, court to go. I mean, what case to go to get his name out there. You go to the biggest one out there. Hey, I'll be your expert pro bono. He ain't stupid. It's a publicity stunt.
The same thing with Mark Furman. I'll be your PI.
Thank you. And then poor old Detective Gooch. Can you imagine? Hi, how are you? I'm Nina
Can's
Gooch.
been kicked down the road several times on this, and it's nobody's fault. Judge afforded the defendant multiple opportunities to provide a compliant alibi response. That never occurred. The defendant's response from earlier this year doesn't have anything new or different. It talks about partial corroboration of a partial alibi, which frankly, the statute doesn't talk about partial anything, nor can we find that in the case law. The defendant acknowledges that their cell phone expert, Mr. Ray, can't account for the time of the homicides itself. Of course, we know that because his phone was turned off. So the only person who can testify to an alibi, if there is an alibi, is the defendant himself. If he elects to testify, that's fine. And the state's position is that he's allowed to testify, but under the statute and the rule for alibi notifications, there should be an order from the court prohibiting evidence from any other witnesses as to the defendant's
Well, he can't
location
testify.
at
He hasn't
the
been able
time
to
of these
button the stop
events.
button.
Defendant retains his right to testify to that if he elects to do that. But nobody else should be asked to testify about specific places where the defendant has been, because we can't respond to that at this point. And to
Now, if his phone had been on, then he could testify.
He can't testify. He can't even button his stop button.
No, I'm not talking about Brian. I'm talking about Ray. I'm saying
Oh,
if Brian
yeah.
would have been on, then he could have given his expertise as to where he believed that Brian was. The only thing he can speak on, if anything, is from the time he
Nothing.
left his house, from the time he left his house to 54 minutes after. And that's it.
Right. And I don't think he will ever let him testify.
I don't call him my God, Leslie, but to a lot of people, they have a conversation with him and they idolize these people so quickly. I don't know. I don't get it. People have twisted loyalties sometimes. All right, Dark Square. Doggies, hello.
To our knowledge, there's nobody else who can say the defendant was at a specific other place.
What about their expert, cell phone expert, who, as I understand it, will testify as to where he was or wasn't?
I don't believe that that's what his expert can say. The best their expert can say is that before the defendant's phone was turned off, the defendant's phone was south and potentially west of Pullman. But that was significant time or notable time before the homicides themselves occurred here in Moscow. There's nothing in the cell phone data that shows where the defendant was at the time of the homicides.
You don't disagree about the right to put on that evidence?
No, that's fine. I mean, that's an issue, the battle between the cell phone experts on the activity of the defendant's cell phone and what direction it was. But that doesn't apply to the time when the homicides occurred.
You're just looking to ensure that there's no witness who's going to appear who says, oh, yeah, he was at my house at 4:06.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
This is where he goes off.
Mr. Koberger has consistently maintained his innocence and said that he was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022.
And he can testify to that.
I'm going to get to that. We provided Mr. Ray as a partial corroboration of Mr. Koberger's alibi in an abundance of caution. The thing I didn't want was to be here with Mr. Thompson saying they should have told us they had a partial corroboration. Now they can't use it. So that's why we disclosed Mr. Ray as early as we possibly could. Mr. Ray took the stand in a motion hearing last May, I believe, and the state chose not to cross-examine him. I disagree that Mr. Judge gave us repeated opportunities to produce more. There was a mix-up about what an order meant when speedy trial was waived and the trial was reset and all of the deadlines were extended. That was the thing that happened there. So it wasn't repeated times that we had an opportunity to say more. But I will say this. This has been brought up repeatedly by Mr. Thompson. His pleadings with the court, his briefing, have a lot of reference to Mr. Koberger having the ability to testify. In the few minutes he spoke just now, I counted 5 times he made reference to that. Our view is that's getting dangerously close to commenting on his right to remain silent. And I would cite the court, the closest case we could find was State versus Haggard. That's at 94 Idaho 249.
I think the issue is who's going to say he was out driving around looking at the stars?
Well, Your Honor, I think that's going to be a trial issue. And I think that if that's commented on trial, that's a comment on his right to remain silent.
The question is whether they can comment on it. The question is whether you have a witness who's going to testify to that he was at a particular place between the hours of 2:57 and whenever his phone came back on in 5, whatever it was, 4, so whatever it was.
448.
4:48. If so, you have an obligation to produce that. If not, and your testimony, your presentation is that this is what was going on, you have to have somebody that's going to put that into evidence. You can't testify to that.
I'm certainly not planning to testify to that. I'm responding to requests for alibi. And a lot of times in cases, there is not going to be a response because a person's alone. The court's aware of that. But when you have what I considered a partial corroboration, that had to be put out there so that I could make sure I could call Mr. Ray to the stand.
I don't think there's contesting that, as far as I can tell.
That's what I heard them say today as well. I'm explaining why we put that out there. I would say that the state is continually asking a question that is a problem that hasn't arisen at this time yet. The only fear that I have, because of their repeated questions, is that there is something somewhere in the 68 terabytes of discovery that I haven't come across yet. If that's the case, I'd ask the court, if they know of it, I'd ask the court to order them to tell me about that. I can let the court know I haven't read every document in 68 terabytes. I haven't watched every minute of video in 68 terabytes of discovery. We have answered the question now. We've answered the question before, and this continues to come up. I would point out, though, that Idaho Code 19-513, subsection 3, that says if we learn of an additional witness that was not previously known, we can disclose that and the state can challenge that at a later time. I don't have that person now. But if I continue to review discovery that the state produced to me and I find something, then I'll bring it up. But I don't have that now. What I have is partial corroboration, and that's what I intend to produce. I also intend to cross-examine the state's expert about that if he's allowed to testify.
Sorry about that. What was that?
The notion of partial corroboration of alibi is, that kind of begs the question between complying with the alibi disclosure statute or not. And
Well, why shouldn't we just look at this in terms of the defendant's version is that Mr. Ray, in his expert work, is going to testify the defendant was at a certain place at a certain time, which is up to 2:50, whatever it was. As of this point, they have provided no other alibi witness. Or the alibi instruction likely is not going to be given. If they come across evidence that supports an alibi, is their obligation to immediately make you and the court aware of it? And then we'll deal with the issue of whether it is the timeliness of it and how we deal with it.
Thank you, Your Honor. The court articulated much better than I could. That's exactly what we were looking for. Thank you.
Well, right there is where I'm going to leave off there. Nina, let's commentate on a little bit on what we've heard so far, because I don't want to drag everybody through the rest of it. Is that better?
Yeah,
Is that better?
it is for me.
I haven't done anything. I swear they always sabotage my live streams. It's just conspiracy.
Oh my gosh. You know, that's the
So,
thing about it is, if you really think about it, God, for it to be a conspiracy or a frame job or anything like that, the amount of people that would have to be involved.
I mean, even this hearing, you know,
Yeah, because now they're saying, well, we won't never get a fair trial with this judge. He's in on it too. So now we've got another judge involved.
we'll never get a fair trial here in Lake Dog County. So we moved it. At what point
Right.
is at
I
what
mean,
point is
that's
enough
what I
enough?
said. Be
You know?
careful what you wish for, because we got Mr. Harley.
At what point is enough enough? You know, at one particular point, you just got to say, okay, let's roll with it. Let's see where it goes. But you know what? There's still 3 months before trial, so you can't eat on nothing, right? So you got
Right.
to make sure you pay the bills and you put some food on some groceries in your refrigerator. So you know, I understand that. Nothing wrong with making money.
I was in Gunner's chat today, and he was talking about that people are so emotionally invested that they're letting their emotions take over. And what's their life going to be when this case is over?
I've said that.
Because
I've said that
yeah,
from the beginning. I've said that from the beginning. What are people going to do?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's crazy because and that's on both sides. That's on both sides. There are some guilters out there that will not even discuss any other way. It's on both sides. You know, so I am not at all talking about either side of it, because there's a lot of people that
And that's why
are
I put that out there earlier as far as the emotional attachment. I mean, people honestly think that Ann Taylor and Bill Thompson actually go home and lose sleep over this. You know what? They're gonna have a cappuccino in the morning and discuss case trial.
right. Exactly. They're going to
You
still
know?
get up and put their pants on the same way.
Yeah. They're gonna go and sit in each other's offices and talk about the what the hearing. God, I want to take this off. What the hearing was about, what they need to come together on. And you really got me on that out of the blue. You kicked me in the balls with that statement, blah, 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 vice versa.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
it's not that much of involvement for these people. They're getting paid to do a job.
And Taylor's getting paid good money.
Yes, yes. So do you really think she cares? Honestly,
I mean, Hippler asked her today,
how could
okay,
she,
well,
how could
how
she,
can you take on a second death penalty case if you're telling me that you can't keep up with this one?
and you're telling me after all these years that she's been doing this, she's still emotionally attached to this? It doesn't happen.
Uh-uh.
You develop a callousness about you that even though you're doing your job and you're giving people your best, there's a callousness there that you just do not even realize is forming. I mean, I'm going to give you an example. When I became a therapist, the first time that I had a relapse, I cried. And I'm not a crier, but I cried. The second one, I felt like crap about because I took
Right.
a failure. But then after each one happened, it was kind of like, oh, well, this is part of the game. This is part of the deal. So did I
Right.
take it hard when somebody would relapse? I'd be a little upset, but it didn't sting as badly as those first two. So I believe that at this point, if she does have any kind of attachment, she's probably attached to the feeling that she doesn't want to see anybody go to their grave on her watch. But
But
does
you got to
she really?
consider too that in her line of work, getting the death penalty took off the table. That's a win
Yeah.
because you saved a life.
Hmm. and she's still getting paid. She's still going to drive that fancy car. She's going to get the fancy clothes. She's going to she's going to have groceries for her family. What about that Koberger guy? Well, we did the best we could. We threw everything at him, but, we only could get so far. That judge, they can blame it on the judge, but the judge is being fair. The other judge was a pushover. He wasn't making any decisions.
That's the reason I said that they needed to be careful what they wish for, because they're sitting there going, God, where's Judge?
Yeah. And they accused him of siding with the state.
Right.
How the hell can they say that and accuse this same judge of doing the same thing? How did they see that? Answer me that, Nina. They said Judge was siding with the state. And now they're saying that this judge is paid off by the state. Honestly, they say we need to impeach him. Somebody told me there's a big old petition on YouTube about needing to bond together and go march and do a march to get the judge impeached or whatever. It doesn't work that way. He was appointed by the Supreme Court. Do you not remember that? Do people forget that, Nina? Are you still here?
Oh, shoot, I was muted. Sorry.
All right, Kiki, come on.
Huh?
I said, all right, Kiki, come on. He was appointed by the Supreme Court, was he not?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So if he was appointed by the Supreme Court, don't you think he's the best of the best?
The thing about it is, it's not going to matter, good judge, bad judge, whatever judge, unless the judge is going to give everything to the defense. They're not going to be happy, and if he don't give it all to the state, they're not going to be happy, because nobody's happy in the middle.
Right.
I mean, there's going to be decisions that are made on both sides that we don't like. And really, it's none of our business.
I mean, some people will defend a killer as long as they get paid. Look at the four that did it.
Call him names.
I mean, honestly, OJ killed those people and they defended him. Just don't make that same mistake. If the
Right.
balaclava does not fit.
But now I was a little shocked today over the whole the ASD, and how they're making him out to just be so incompetent and everything. And then I thought I would die when Hitler said, was that before his doctorate or after? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, she was talking to
somebody said that picture that he took the morning of the murders was because he hadn't been able to, growing up, he couldn't button his top button. And so he took that picture for his mom. So you're telling me now that this guy that's got a PhD and everything else, a teaching assistant, that he walked on his tiptoes, he wasn't able to button his top button. He doesn't understand mitigation. Come on, people.
But he was a TA,
So I
right?
guess we don't understand what he was doing.
He was a TA grading papers on criminal justice stuff, but he doesn't understand it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He does not understand mitigation to the point that he can't help us get him mercy. Oh my gosh. Y'all should have put a helmet on him sitting at that table.
Well, Nina. I've heard countless people say he got his PhD. He did not get his PhD. He did not get his PhD.
Oh, did he not?
Good point. Drove across the country, but he can't button his own shirt.
Exactly. Look, Mom, I buttoned my top button.
You said something one time long ago that I had never thought about. I don't know where you heard it or if you made it up or whatever, but you said something a while back. You said they didn't find his DNA, none of the victim's DNA, blood,
Where did
any,
his daddy sit?
any DNA in that Elantra. But his dad drove how many miles with him, and they didn't find his dad's DNA either.
Yeah. Where did Dad sit for 2,500 miles?
Where's his trace DNA?
How did he open his the car door? Because his DNA is not even on the door handle. So how did Dad get in the car? And did he ride 2,500 miles with no seatbelt?
Did we see
And
Brian
did they get a
driving?
ticket for him not having a
Hey,
seatbelt when they were pulled
did we,
over 2 times?
Brian seemed pretty alert whenever he asked where he was going to get Thai food. He was quick
And
on
here's
the
another
whistle.
thing.
That one.
Two police officers were leaned over in that car. Their DNA is not even there. But yet we lose DNA everywhere we go. Well, guess what? Dad and 2 police officers didn't.
It's the wind. The wind took it a certain
Yeah, the
direction.
wind did it. Yeah. And then, they want to sit there and they want to talk about touch DNA. Let's don't call it touch. It's transfer. Look, lady, you can call it whatever you want to. Okay? But here's the thing about it. When it is single source and it's more than enough skin cells, the amount of skin cells, that's one person. Because if it was transferred from somebody else, where's their DNA? Did they wear gloves when they held their knife? When
You
they,
know
I
damn.
mean,
You know damn well he went to the store, was checking out a box of cereal, decided against buying it, got his touch DNA on the cereal. Here comes Joe Blow after him.
oh my gosh, I
Buys the
forgot.
box of cereal.
I forgot about Captain Crunch. I'm sorry.
Buys the box of cereal. Takes the cereal home. Brian DNA goes on that guy's knife sheath. He goes in and kills him.
That's right. I forgot about Captain Crunch.
All that would be nice and theoretical, but at that point, Brian DNA wouldn't be on the knife sheath. There would be a mix.
Oh, don't be hating. I don't think any of that is true. What did I miss?
Well, that's one of the popular beliefs out there.
Oh,
You know what I mean? It's one of the popular ones. That box of
but no,
cereal. The bo-
I don't.
you know, there was
I
somebody. I heard today there was somebody talking that hopped on a panel that was admitting that Brian came. I don't even know how the whole thing goes, but supposedly Brian wanted to sell him the K-bar knife and sheath, and he was driving a white car with another blonde-haired girl. Blah blah blah. I don't even know how this goes. I got to get the
bet
correct.
you they said it was Bethany Funk too.
Probably.
The blonde-haired girl. Heck, Bethany Funk and Coburgers riding
They
around
can
trying to
never
sell us.
put. They can say stuff like that because their side of the defense lawyers talk just like that. But they never can connect those dots. Just like the judge said, you don't bring any evidence to connect what you're saying. Have you ever asked somebody, why do you think he's innocent? Because his car wasn't there? Because, they didn't find evidence at his house. They didn't find evidence. They don't have any evidence. Remember before the PCA, they were saying so many people were stuck on that. There's no evidence. Everything's circumstantial. This whole piece,
So now
and then the PCA came out. Yeah, and then the PCA came out, and they were still saying, "Well, this is just hearsay. This is just the whole PCA is based on reasonable doubt. The police are setting up reasonable doubt for him." And then it
The
just
thing
went.
about it is, I mean, you've heard me say plenty of times, right now we have one defendant. If he gets off, we're going to need defendant bleachers for as many people that's been accused.
Because where's suspect number 2? Because they in the PCA they said suspect vehicle number 2. Where's suspect vehicle number 2?
Okay, but, you know my little theory on that.
No, I don't.
Oh, the suspect 1? Okay, suspect vehicle 1, okay? What if, okay, they say that he's been by the house 23 times, say, okay?
Yeah.
So what if it's suspect vehicle 1A for this trip, 1B for this trip, 1C, you know what I'm saying? Instead of being a vehicle number 2, maybe it's just 1 and then a letter for each of the trips. And the thing about it is the investigation was fluid at that time. It was changing. So they have to put a vehicle 1 because there may be 14 of them that they find out about. You know, there's some creators that there's 14 vehicles involved because there's 200.
Nina, my whole thing is he wasn't even a suspect during the early parts of the investigation. Wasn't even on their radar.
Exactly. I mean,
But they're making it sound like from day one, they set this man up, set that in motion.
oh yeah, I mean they had him set up, but you know they had him all planned and everything. So I guess they know to go to the Poconos to pick somebody.
Don't you know that's why Chief Fry drove that U-Haul to said Pennsylvania? Because they were trying to tell people that it was a setup, but nobody would look and see.
And you know the thing about it is, you know, everybody wants to come off like, as far as okay, as far as the IGG, they went into that it is said that they went into databases that they weren't supposed to. Now, if anybody had been listening at that court, Nye got up and said, FBI states they did not do that. But that just sort of got looked over, okay? But we're going to go with they went into a database, okay? He still don't have any rights. He left his DNA at a murder scene. Please tell me what right is being violated.
Isn't it so bad that the defense is even victim shaming? That is pathetic. And people won't talk about that. It's gotten so bad that the defense has to shame the surviving roommates.
And he's got so bad that they had to take him down.
She was shaming Dylan and Bethany over the 911 call. They didn't
Right.
sound upset to me. It sounded like they were checking their emails, you know, taking photos, deleting stuff, blah, blah, blah. Come on.
But that,
That's her job, but you know, it's pretty damn bad when that's the best you can do.
okay, I understand that it's her job, but when you have the public doing it, that ain't nobody's job. They need to keep their mouth shut. You know, I mean,
She shouldn't even go down that angle anyways. She shouldn't
right.
even go down that angle anyways. Not a good look. Let's look at this statement. Saw in the chat that we're in an alternate universe and that's what's wrong.
Oh
Where's
my God.
where's my tinfoil hat? Damn.
An alternate universe. I guess that's the reason we're doing a parallel investigation.
You know, Nina, I've seen people start off on this side that have totally flipped to the other
JB
side.
Gunner. You know, JB Gunner put that video out. Look, I know I'm going to lose some followers, but y'all, he bought a knife. You know, he's like, I always said that he bought a knife. I may have to rethink this.
I didn't play that part, but let me put this out there to you. If I buy an Amazon gift card, my search
Right,
history shows that I've been searching K-bar knives
right.
and a sharpener.
Uh-huh.
And then,
Do you know why for the sharpener?
oh, hold on. Then I purchased that knife.
Uh-huh.
And that knife comes in. And people at my residence see me with this knife.
Uh-huh.
And then no telling what else they're going to say about that knife.
Uh-huh.
And then I move away.
Uh-huh.
Months later, 4 people are brutally murdered. The person who supposedly did this drives a white vehicle. It's caught on camera, multiple cameras. Supposedly was done with a sharp-edged weapon,
Uh-huh.
K-bar.
Uh-huh.
If you were his brother or you were his sister, either one, or you were his dad, or let's say at the dinner table you bring up, hey, did you hear about that case out there where Brian's at? 4 people were brutally murdered in the middle of the night. Supposedly they were killed with a knife, a sharp-edged knife. They're saying it's a K-bar. And now they're looking for somebody with a white Elantra. Not as a suspect, but to just talk to them.
Oh,
This
yeah, and
is
it's not 9458.
this is an educated family, okay? These aren't podunk hillbillies, okay? No disrespect if I have any podunk hillbillies in the chat. But this is an educated family. Out of all 4 of them, how many do you believe had that talk? Do you think this
All
could
four.
be? You think this could be brother?
All 4.
Talk to me about that.
No, I mean, seriously, though, because one of the sisters has already made a statement that the reason she went into the field that she went into was because PTSD. Really? Can we talk about your PTSD, please? Because you don't get that in this great family that's the Brady Bunch. You know what I'm saying? You don't get PTSD from the Brady Bunch and Leave It to Beaver. You know, you get PTSD from the Manson family, maybe, but not the Brady Bunch.
You get PTSD from an up and down brother who's addicted to drugs and stealing everything that you can't glue to the carpet, and who's yelling at mom and dad and making you have to take sides. One moment you're for your brother, the next one
You up,
huh?
or even beating you up because he hates girls.
That's
And the thing
speculation.
about it is
Very true.
three adult children. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 adult children graduate in psychology. 1, 2, 3. 3 are unmarried. 1, 2, 3. 3 have no children. That's odd.
But get back to my original theory there. Do you believe that
Oh,
any of them thought?
okay.
But stay with me here a minute. Do you believe that any of those 4 thought, could Brian have done that?
Every one of them.
Do you think they would have even called him and say, hey brother, where were you at that night?
No, because Dad's going to ride back with him, and we need Dad's DNA in the seat.
Hey, brother, did you take that knife with you when you moved out there?
And Steve made a statement that they have witnesses that saw him with the knife.
Well, that could be anybody in the family. I mean, that could be friends.
But
That
what
could
I'm
be,
saying is everybody wants to say that maybe the parents ordered the
hey, that could be the mailman passing by, watching him throwing the knife at the tree. You just never know. I mean, that could be anybody. But what I'm trying to get at is nobody knows you better than your family.
They knew.
And to say that
If
that
you
family,
go,
hey,
if you go into
my
one of the
family's
sisters,
my family's going to support me whether I'm doing right or whether I'm doing wrong. That does not concede the fact that I still did wrong, whether they
right,
support me or whether they don't. That doesn't mean that, I didn't do anything wrong. If I were to go and get drunk and hit somebody and kill them, my family would support me, but they wouldn't. That doesn't mean that what I did wasn't wrong in their eyes. You get what I'm saying?
right,
They would still show up to trial for me. They would still probably come see me. It would break their hearts at what I did. But doesn't mean that they would accept that I killed somebody.
right.
You get what I'm saying?
And I don't, there's no way they didn't question it. There's no way.
Kelly says she heard that the sister had questions.
Yeah.
I heard that too. Heard that too.
And that's the same sister that said PTSD.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the beginning that we took as being debunked that we're finding out that was research and fact. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
There's a lot of stuff that people are saying, oh, that's been debunked. That's not true. Well,
Right,
now we found out later on it is true. There is a little
right.
bit of a fire in that smoke.
Yeah.
You know, the family's going to testify because they have a conscience, obviously. 4 people were murdered, and if their brother did it, how could you live with yourself to lie for your brother and he gets out and kills other people?
Okay, I want y'all to think about something, okay? Do you remember when it came out that they had to testify at the grand jury on another case? Okay, do you remember it said the mother had already testified? This was the father testifying, okay? Now, there's something that says they have to go and testify at a grand jury. I mean, and this was before all this came out. I mean, I know the dad going and testifying was afterwards, but the mom had already testified.
Right.
And I mean, that's the thing about it is, I
The mom
mean,
already testified. I don't see daddy lying for him.
no, but what I'm saying is does that mean that she testified before he was arrested? Because the dad testified what, just a couple of days after the arrest.
Leslie wants y'all to see her woodpecker. I've never seen, I've never seen a black woodpecker, but okay.
Okay, now it will be called Woody.
See it?
Aw, aw, that's pretty. Hey, do y'all see that shadow in that tree?
Do what?
I was asking if you saw that shadow of that person in that tree.
Stop it.
No,
Stop it. You know,
exactly.
I
I
mean,
do not believe they talked about it. I
what
think
if,
that was about it.
I don't want to get into what ifs. Okay, I almost said it, but um, if he was cleaning out the car and somebody saw it, We've heard that he wore gloves all over town when he went to the grocery store, all this and that and the other. He wasn't wearing gloves on a trip to home. He wasn't wearing gloves when he got pulled over that time in the crosswalk. He wasn't
Right.
wearing gloves.
But his DNA's not in the car.
I don't believe anybody said he was wearing gloves while he talked.
Right.
So all of a sudden you get home and you start wearing gloves. There's a reason for that.
And, they want to talk about the barging in, with the no knock or whatever. But it was because they saw the light come on and somebody go down to the garage where the car was. So they thought he was getting rid of evidence. So they went in, and at the time, I didn't know that until here recently about the light going down into the garage, about them seeing him do that.
And who's to say he wasn't going down there to give it one more clean? He's not
Exactly.
He's not stupid. No matter what people want to paint this guy at, he's not an idiot. But he's not
Callie, that's a
he's
good.
not a genius. He's not a genius either.
Hey,
Yeah,
come
Callie.
on now. He doesn't understand mitigation.
This is a great comment. The picture with the
Yes,
thumbs
it is.
up. No gloves
Yes,
too.
it is. Yes, it is.
So the glove thing only started once he got home.
Right.
That picture, if they got that video of him at Albertsons, is he wearing gloves in the winter? Because it was cold that morning. If he wasn't wearing gloves.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. That was the day after the murders.
Yeah.
Huh.
If they caught him wearing gloves at that Albertson that are not winter gloves, but
See, I think he went there and bought bandages.
no telling. But
There's a reason to
that's going to
drive
be
that far.
interesting. That's going to be interesting to know if he was wearing gloves at that Albertsons.
But you don't drive that far to buy something for no reason.
That's where he touched the cereal box.
He had touched cereal box before that.
No, they framed him after the murder.
Oh, okay. That's... So let's see.
Yeah, he was wearing gloves once he got to Pennsylvania, but I'm talking about the morning after the murder, before he took the selfie.
Did he wear gloves to the pool party?
What?
Did he wear gloves to the pool party? Come on, all them bodies in that water and everything. If he's a germaphobe, he's going to be wearing gloves.
Sounds like they were implying a family member had purchased a knife, or they go on to accuse the family member.
Exactly. Yeah.
Of course they are. They're saying that it was. I heard somebody say the other night in my chat, he bought a camping bundle that came with a camping bundle.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the reason I was like, well, Steve G says that they have witnesses saying that he carried it around everywhere he went.
I believe they do. I would think so. There's money in there, so anywhere where they have currency, that somebody could break in to rob them.
They got him on camera in Albertsons.
Yeah,
they've got all the receipt and everything.
Was he wearing gloves when he approached the Costco?
Nobody's ever said. I don't know if anybody's ever asked.
That was jumbled up, but what'd you say?
Yeah, sorry, my the red-nosed pit's in front of me telling me that he wants me to pet him.
Hey, did he wear gloves at the Costco?
See, I don't think he wore gloves at all. Oh, let's see.
Well, think about that. If he didn't wear gloves anywhere but after the murders, and he was sorting trash.
All right, so the people that saw him at the pool party, nobody's ever said he wore gloves. The neighbor that he walked around the apartment building and all that with, he never mentioned him wearing gloves all the time.
Right.
The students never mentioned it. The hairdresser never mentioned it. Wait a minute, didn't he go out with some girl that had birthing hips? Did he wear gloves on their date?
I don't know. We need to
And
ask
does he
her.
wear? Never mind.
What was her name?
Oh, the redhead girl.
Burping.
Oh, she said that she went. They watched a movie, and he was tickling her, and she
Well,
faked throwing up.
I remember what she said. I'm just saying.
I
What
can't
was her
remember.
name? Burping him.
Okay, look. Have you heard anything about the search that is Brian Koberger suspect all the way back to like 2011?
No.
Okay.
Well, in the PCA, and I say this every time. Think about this. This is going to be something that I believe is going to be brought up because they put it in the PCA. So obviously, it's a little important. His phone never pinged in Moscow after the murders.
Exactly.
Not one time. Zero. So I'm sorry. So if it
Okay.
pinged, what? Let's say 12 times,
Right.
and then after the murders, 0 times.
Right.
Come on.
But yeah, they somebody did like the trending or whatever, how you can tell how many times something's searched. And Brian Koberger's suspect was being searched all the way back to like 2011. Now, who else would be researching that?
Brian.
Thank you. And guess who? Never mind. I'm not going to get into all that. All I know is there are 3 girls dead and 2 missing.
Okay.
That's all I'll say about
Hey, the light bulb just flickered a little bit. It's
that.
burnt out. I thought it was burnt out all these years, but I just got a little flicker in there. I got you. I see what you did there. See what you
Yeah.
did
So
there.
in 2011, he's researching Brian Koberger suspect.
Why would he be doing that, Nina?
Thank you.
Why would he be
And there
doing
are
that?
unsolved murders all along there. And why did they do the search warrant on the Apple account and iPad all the way back to 2016?
Because maybe there
He
was
didn't
some
even get that light bulb again.
incriminating information on that thing that
Maybe because they think he's involved in something else.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's
Kelly,
the reason the
Kelly
feds are
has a bit
involved.
of information here. She said, I
Oh,
had heard very early on he went to a class or a speaking event not long after the murders had taken place and he was wearing gloves. Both of those pictures that I've seen of those events, I don't know unless it was another one, he wasn't wearing gloves, but it could have been another event. But I've seen 2 pictures of him, one sitting in the front row and one sitting next to a female, a big female, the birthing hips girl, probably.
that's
About
what I
30.
said, like, is, you know, you don't get caught, your parents don't get called to just go testify to grand jury for no reason.
So, did you ever notice that Brian had any particular interest with arson or bedwetting or, you know, harming animals? Did you ever notice him ever hurting small animals or small children?
His sister has PTSD, so
You know, that's interesting to me because as I was doing the Israel Keys case the other day,
uh-huh.
that's something that they were talking about, that Israel got off on killing that cat or shooting that cat while the other
Jeffrey
little
Dahmer.
boy other little boy threw up. Israel didn't know why that other little boy was throwing up.
Y'all, I
And
don't care what nobody says. Israel Keys is the king of serial killers.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean,
I mean, come on,
had he
burying
not
buckets
made some
years
mistakes,
before.
I'm sure there's bodies that still haven't been found that
Oh,
he
definitely. I
has
mean,
his
when
name
you go and
all
bury
over.
a kill bucket,
I mean, he makes Brian look like a Boy Scout.
Melissa has PTSD.
Not our Melissa in the chat, the other, his
Oh,
sister.
no.
She doesn't come in our chat anymore. Okay, I don't know where she went, but not that Melissa, the other Melissa. Didn't
Yeah,
Dahmer
Dahmer
start
started out with
with animals?
animals.
Yeah, Dahmer started out with animals. A lot of them
And,
do.
Dahmer was really, don't get me wrong, everything he did was terrible. But what's sad about it is he did it because he didn't want them to leave.
Yeah, don't leave me.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna
that
kill
is
you.
so sad.
I'm gonna kill you and put your skull in my
I'm going to put you in the
freezer.
refrigerator and keep you.
Yeah, and take pictures of you, handcuff you.
Well, then why are you cutting me up?
His first kill wasn't even meant to be a kill. He just didn't want him to leave.
Right, the jogger. Yep.
Can you imagine? You just wanted to ride to a concert, and an hour later, you're being molested by a serial
Come
killer.
on, poor Xana at 412. She's on TikTok. 8 minutes later, she's dead. I mean,
She's
I can't
over.
even.
She's
I
over
mean,
at
try to
JoJo's
put
and
that in
Star's.
some kind of perspective.
Yeah, a little
That
true crime humor.
I mean, think about that. At 412, I'm dilly dallying on TikTok, and by 420, I'm laying in the floor.
That's a
I mean,
little
talk about not guaranteed tomorrow. Hell, we ain't guaranteed 9 minutes.
right. Like I don't know which one you're saying awful to, but they're both awful. I mean, we're like Rondi said, a little true crime humor.
And I
Just
don't mean that funny. I mean, it's reality.
yeah. The
I
dog they
mean,
found still bothers me. I'm concerned that if he didn't harm the dog, then there was still someone else that's very disturbed out there. I agree with you on that. What did the owner said that they filleted him or skinned him? She said,
skinned him.
Buddy, the dog. They
Yeah,
skinned.
yeah, he was skinned.
Okay.
That's the reason everybody thought Showalter was because he was a hunter.
I believe there's more serial killers on that campus that we didn't even know about. Not saying that they were involved. No, honestly, this generation is kind of for reals. I mean, just because they didn't kill the four doesn't mean that there isn't two or three that were probably shaking in their boots.
You
They
ain't
probably
kidding.
were thankful they didn't drive a wide launcher and have thick eyebrows.
Yeah,
I'm
I can't
serious.
even see a water now.
Huh?
I hate to, I go to the store and it's like, oh my God, there's a water laundry.
There's a lot of these juveniles that have no conscience about human life. None. And
Thank you, Leslie. I'm
they
glad to be
will
back.
they will kill you
Yeah.
for nothing, but it's everything in their mind. And I believe
Right.
that's what we're dealing with this guy. But they're
See,
calling it
that's the thing about
autistic.
it too.
They're
Motive.
calling
Everybody's like, what's the motive? What's the motive? The motive was the desire to take a life.
Mhm.
And sometimes
Thank
that
you, Doris.
desire is more powerful than the motive of greed, betrayal, whatever. It's that desire that they've got to do it.
And that urge. When
Right.
urge meets opportunity, you get a murder, a rape, an assault,
Yep.
theft, whatever. Urge meets opportunity. Some of these people cannot control that urge, and it builds up over time. And before you know it, they're like a ticking time bomb, And people wonder, well, he didn't have any connection to the 4. Why would he have chose that house? They said it was targeted. You know what they meant by the word targeted? That was an easy
Right.
ass house to get in and out of based on the
Right.
location of the parking lot area, the back tree line, all that stuff. That's why they said targeted. Not because of drugs, not because of anything else. Oh, did you hear another creator doxed supposedly the DoorDash driver?
Yeah.
Do you believe
Yep.
that that person he doxed is the DoorDash driver?
I don't know because I haven't seen it to know what the name was.
But you know who the DoorDash driver is?
Uh-uh.
Oh, I bet you do. I think that's part of it, but it's deeper than that with BK. Yeah, I agree with you, Callie. You're right on point tonight for sure. All of you are actually. I mean, I appreciate the chat tonight. Even the people that were in here that didn't agree with, what we were talking about earlier, I'm glad you came by and said hi. Hopefully you hit the
Right.
like button just because you came by and interacted with us and we showed you some southern hospitality up in here. That back parking lot, it would be like a drive-in theater. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Bundy didn't have connections either. Neither did the Green River Killer. That's what I don't understand is people say he didn't have any kind of connection to them. He wasn't stalking them. So why would he go in there and kill them? He needed a reason. He needed a motive. No killer needs a motive.
Well, there is a reason that you drive from a no death penalty with the insanity plea to a state that has neither one. And that's exactly what Bundy did.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason Koberger did it.
Well, they asked him, they said, well, how did you determine your victims? He said their door was unlocked.
Right.
So he was literally going by, trying every door. I mean, I'm not going to throw anything out there that, that's been said about the timeline, but that would make sense if you have that kind of mind. You start at the top and work your way down,
Right.
wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't start at the bottom and then somebody come in the top floor and catch you in between both the floors, you'd be trapped. You start at the top and work your way down. You come in through the back, start at the top, work your way down to the bottom floor, go out the front door. Doesn't
Huh.
that sound logical? Not saying that that's how it happened, but in theory, that's
That goes against our narrative.
if you're going to sweep a house, that's probably what you'd do. In my in my opinion, screw that. I believe that. Both of BK's sisters have blonde hair. Nina,
Melissa is a brunette, and I think at one time she had her hair maybe where she had it like lightened to where it was maybe a golden brown. But I've got like 20 pictures of her, and they are crazy pictures. And she's a brunette.
and Xana was
And
a
then
brunette.
she's what, a dirty blonde?
Xana was a brunette. JB Holiday used to, but recent release pictures of one. Her hair was very dark, almost black. I believe one does. Believe one in the movies. Yeah, one was in the movie.
Yeah, she's the dirty blonde.
Let me ask you a question that's not asked a lot, but I remember at one point they were talking about that movie, The Killer Clones or something.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that? That was released the night before the murders, and it had so much ideology that kind of echoed what happened. Do you put any of that together with anything, or do you think it just coincidental?
I think it's coincidental, and I think that because, it got brought up from 4chan.
They took that off pretty quickly.
And believe me, I've searched for it.
Yeah. I probably saw the opening credits, and then I closed it out. I went to look again. It was gone.
Oh,
That's
I
how.
bet you're thinking of that. That's
Yes,
how
I
I was.
wasn't. I
When I
wasn't.
watched,
I wasn't
when
into
I watched that
saving and
Stacey.
screenshotting, creating all this stuff. I went into all that at the very beginning. I didn't know what I was
Yeah,
doing.
so that's how I was, and that's how I ended up losing the Stacey Chapin interview, where she
Yeah.
talks about all that stuff I say, and I went
Well,
back and I'm like, well,
I've always talked about that camera at 710. Nobody
yeah.
believes me, but it may or may not be true. But I know I saw that interview. Here's a good question too, or a good statement. It says, "I always wondered if BK hated his sisters and took that hatred to the ultimate level." They say
And
we
you
do
know what?
reenact. They say we do reenact stuff from our past.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: there are 5 girls that looks like Melissa, and Melissa's the one that had PTSD.
Do you think that no, I've already gone down that avenue. It pisses people off when I say that. Not even gonna say it. See, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf, Nina.
Me too. I flipped the whole tree. I figured I might try a leaf
I
this.
need I need to hydrate and take my vitamins. So been doing
Uh-huh.
that. So trying
I
to
did
turn
that
over.
for you, backward.
Hydrate and take your vitamins. You know. No, I was gonna comment on his sexuality, but I'm not even gonna go there
On
because
sexuality.
on Brian's sexuality.
I know. Is that what you said you're fixing to comment on?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up again, but
Oh, about him being gay.
huh?
About him being gay.
Possibly, yeah, or bi.
Right.
I mean,
I don't see him struggling as bad as the parents would struggle. And the reason I say that is because the little town, the little area they live in, God, I can't never remember the word, but it is some kind of something, something Catholic. I mean, and
I mean,
it's,
there's a lot of shame and guilt in these behaviors. I mean, a lot of people don't like to go down that route because they say you're making excuses for the potential perp. But in reality, if he did kill these people, if you dig far enough into that family history, you dig far enough into the best precursor of future experience is past behavior. So you look at the patterns, it's going to be there. It's going to yell right at you. It's going to yell at you. You
right.
can't ignore it. I'm not making excuses for it, but something just tells me that, okay, a girl didn't want to be with him and had to fake puking in order for her to get rid of him, supposedly.
Okay, well, when he was hooked on heroin, Ashley turned him down because she was gay.
And then he gets two numbers at a pool party, supposedly. And
Right.
we've never heard whether he called or not. Not that it matters, because that had nothing to do with the murders. But all these are all these are coincidental, right?
Yeah.
Is there a reason why there was an SA in these
Yeah,
murders?
because Kaylee was in the bed.
But isn't that a form of
This is true. That's that P word.
you can say it on the channel?
I don't know what the word is.
Penetration?
No, the act of that. It's what's the word?
It's a phallic symbol. Saying that a woman has a great birthing hips is very I can never say that word. Misogynistic. There we go. And I don't see a lot of gay men being misogynistic. Just a thought. I can dig that. I can dig that, Callie. I really can.
But there is a movie where that statement is made to a girl.
I think me and I think he might have been gay. I mean, if I could go along the lines of being bisexual, even okay, maybe not
I could
totally.
go along the lines of totally not knowing because I think he was a virgin.
But why would you say birthing hips? I mean, that's always puzzled
That's what
me.
I'm
Why?
saying is, they say like the movie American Psycho and stuff like that, and that a lot that picture and stuff. And then there was another movie to where the guy goes out with the girl and he calls her back and tells her that she's got good birthing hips, and
Really?
that was some kind of humor or something.
I mean, think about this. Okay, if this individual really does have as many ticks, let's say ticks. I don't want to offend y'all. God, I forgot the word. Autism crowd because I don't know enough about it. Just based on what they say in the court, if he
If I
has
was the autism crowd, I would be pissed off that they're trying to make him out like he needs a helmet to sit at the defense table because that's what they're basically saying autism is.
well, I get that, but I'm not trying to piss anybody off in that area. I'm just saying that, okay, if he was really troubled in a lot of areas like that, it would make sense that he emulates movies and sayings because it's easy to remember. It's almost like a pattern of
Exactly.
an
And you
obsessive
can
compulsive,
socialize with it.
right? Like, but when it comes to just being sporadic or spontaneous, you can't just go up to two girls and be like, "Hey, how are you doing?" or something dumb and
Right.
cheesy. You got to think of something funny and educational. Be like, "So, how's the weather up there?" Or yeah, I don't know. My player game has been over for a long time, so I don't even have the cheesy ones anymore. How they go? Hey, did it hurt? What? When you fell from heaven? That's it. What's another cheesy one? That's almost as cheesy as you got birthing hips, really, to be honest. What's another one?
The line "You've got good birthing hips" appears in the movie Dark Shadows.
Here's another one. Are you tired? Why? Because you've been running through my brain all day long.
Yeah.
Smooth as a fart in church, I swear. Just but
So
seriously, I
the
mean,
movie Dark Shadows in 2012, the guy called the girl back and told her that she had good birthing hips.
Dark Shadows?
Yep. 2012. So he would have been how old? 18. What? How long did I tell you that he's been planning all this? And been 10 years. I think, I'm telling you,
Wow, wow, yeah.
I say 10 years. And I can't do it like receipt wise as far as, witnesses and stuff like that, but I can
Yeah.
put it all together for you by research.
I'm not trying to be, a butthole either, but just if you don't got any game and it just whatever. What did JB say? I want to laugh too. What? I don't see his comment.
I love the way your legs go up and make an ass of them.
Oh, I like that. I don't see that though. Where is that?
Let's see. It's under 12 watt, under Rondi's.
No, all I see is like a little helmet.
Okay,
Mickey
right
check.
above the helmet.
No, it's not there. It's not there.
What?
No, say that again. I like it where your leg go up
It
and
says, I love the way your legs go up and make an ass of themselves.
oh, oh, okay. Good one, JB.
Oh, light bulb.
Hey, you know what? In this chat, we got adults. It ain't gonna offend none of these women. I promise you. Might offend
Oh,
Texas, but he ain't gonna offend any of the women.
hey, Texas.
What the
I
hell are
ain't
y'all
seen
talking
Texas
about now? I
That
mean,
bullet says I nailed it with the helmet comment.
the helmet comment. Wow.
Hey,
Yeah.
did you know there's a Moscow, Pennsylvania?
Do what?
There's a Moscow, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I remember you saying something
Yeah,
about that.
I
I
got
mean,
the somebody sent me a thing.
coincidences are crazy.
Yeah,
You know?
because it says that somebody needs to investigate what happened in Moscow, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I approve that comment. Awesome. I'm glad you did. I don't see it, so I don't know where it went.
I can't believe you don't see it.
Everybody's laughing, and that's a great one. And I'm like, okay, the last one that I saw of his was the Let's Hear It 12, and then I don't see that comment. And then I saw the helmet. Leslie, 12 has a game, I'm sure. I doubt it. 12 is old and gameless. My player card is being hung up. But I mean, back to Brian. I mean, nobody really knows him better than his family, and I'm sure his sisters know him better than anybody, even better than his mom and dad. Because
Right,
our siblings know everything about us. The good, the bad, the ugly. You know what I mean?
right.
But it's been interesting. It's almost 2 hours and 50 minutes. I've really enjoyed this with you, Nina.
I know
I'm
my
glad.
first time back in the saddle and long one, so thank you.
Yeah, I thought you said you weren't doing this no more. I'm glad that you changed your mind because you're pretty
Oh,
good at
honey,
it.
I privatized every one of my videos and everything. I mean, I really contemplated not coming back. I
Well,
mean, I,
well, my videos are on private, but like 7 or 8, so I'm right there
oh
with
no,
you.
everyone I privatized. It didn't even look like I had a channel.
Well, we all know that
But
you have.
I was
We all
glad
know.
that I was glad that I privatized them instead of being irrational and deleting.
Yeah, I'm glad you did too
You
because I
know,
mean,
I took the time to just privatize them and figure out, and I've had a lot of support, Bullets and Bling, Jeff H, the family here,
yeah,
the support and everything. I thank y'all for that because the wind was completely out of my sails. I mean,
hey,
when I got out of
we
the
all go through
hospital,
that.
I was
Yeah,
so far behind because the Tuesday I got put in the hospital is the Tuesday that the docs started dropping. That was like the first drop, you know. And then I had that whole week where I had no outside contact. So when I got out of the hospital, I was so far behind, I didn't think I would ever get caught back up.
yeah,
And then everything that had happened with other people, and it was like, I can't do this. I can't catch up on my research. And I think it was more me expecting more of myself because usually I could be somewhere and know what everybody was talking about because I've researched it and kept up with it that I felt so behind. I felt like I was in high school failing or something. You know what I'm saying?
I get you.
And
I
that's
get
when I
you.
realized, you know what, you need to step back because if it's bothering you that bad and you're feeling like a failure because you got put in the hospital and got behind on a case, you need to take a step back. You need to
Yep.
prioritize your life.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I was there with you, Nina. I mean, I've been there too. It's I guess people really don't understand the importance on certain people not to be right, but to be as honest as possible. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like to give the best factual information that you can. Doesn't mean that you're not open to other people's suggestions, as long as they
well,
some kind of value. You
yes.
know?
And I mean, my research has always been, I've always been proud of my research,
Yeah.
and when I got behind, I was just like, but then when everything started coming out, and I'm going to admit this in public, I got to where, because the research doesn't, I mean, it belongs to everybody. Anybody can research. So I'm not trying to take any kind of ownership or anything.
Right.
But after that, while I was down out of the saddle, then people were going on lives and using stuff that I had given them, and I was like, wait a minute, I brought that up to you, I sent you that research, and I was like, wait a minute, you're getting jealous over research. You're getting jacked out of shape out of, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I was
Hey,
like a jealous girlfriend over research,
you're preaching to the choir right now, Nina.
and it was like, you can't, no, you can't, you're using my stuff. It ain't my stuff. Anybody can get it. Just because I went deeper than somebody else, I mean, but it bothered me. Then it made me feel even more of a failure. Well, why didn't I take that? Why didn't I put this out? Why didn't I, when I found that, why didn't I put it out? Why didn't I make a video? And it just kept going backwards and
You're
backwards and
smart.
backwards.
You're smart enough to know what that is. That's our addiction talking.
That's that self saboteur.
Yeah, to self-sabotage. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a firm believer. I'll tell anybody that's my worst enemy is myself.
I mean, I came out and did a video one morning about it, talking about it, how I go so far and then I start to sabotage myself and,
Exactly. Exactly. And see, I was on that trajectory of going up. I had made the 500 mark. I had made the 2,000 hours. My research was getting better. I was feeling good. And then I started just sabotaging myself.
there is
With some
Texas.
help. I will say that. With some help.
We went,
Because,
well, I got butt hurt over something you and I talked about and, that's been squashed and you can have it back. I was just butt
I'm
hurt
going to
over
beat your
something
ass over that.
I got butt hurt
I
over
don't even
something
know what
that
I said.
Texas, the answer to your question is
I'm
the best you can do is go private, put your stuff on private, and people can't see it until you put it public. And I mean, you live and learn. You live and learn. I've seen stuff that I've done that people almost quote it verbatim as their own. I mean,
exactly.
but you have to tell yourself, well, you know what? I'm gonna quit giving you some ammunition. I'm just gonna put my stuff on private. Do your own stuff. I mean, I don't mind helping people, but when they don't even give you credit for taking your stuff that they didn't even have before they watched your channel. I would literally have people come in here and watch my channel for a little bit. I'd go off live, I'd go searching around, and literally within an hour or two, I could see people comment or putting what I just put out in different
I
variations.
guess what bothered me the most is there was a lot of things that yourself that I have been saying for 6, 8 months that I would get laughed at for.
Yeah.
Like Dylan going downstairs to the basement. People laughed at me for that. People
Mhm.
laughed at me for saying that the girls thought that it was just a fight and they were texting back and forth saying, what the hell? They laughed at me for that. And then when it comes out, people are like, well, I said that you bitch, please. What did you say? You
But
were
you know what?
100%.
But you know what, Nina? We got to get to a point where people claim they research, they claim they have investigators, they claim they have all this, that, and the other. The smart people know who really does the hard work on these channels, and we don't have to prove anything to anybody or anything. The people who show up in this chat, they know, they hear it. They've been coming to this channel. They come to your channel. They come to all these channels, and they know where it comes from. Just like
But I
I was
had one. I
getting
had
mad.
one.
I was getting mad because I would hear songs that I would play all the time. Start Other people would start playing them, and I was
Right,
getting pissed off at that. And I was like, "That's my song. No, it's not my song. That's
right,
YouTube's song."
exactly.
It's YouTube song. It's not your song, Gage. So
And see, that's, but I think what bothered me about it was that nobody would listen, but now they want to use it.
yeah.
That's what bothered me.
And I think
Was
another
I was,
thing that bothers you is, whenever you do a lot of hard work and you try to be your best at your channel and you're not begging people to give you money, you're not begging people to sub up, you're not begging people to do anything. And these other channels, you see them begging, and they're
yeah,
the channel that kind of kick you in the teeth, so to speak.
yeah,
They claim to be with you, but they're not really with you. They're with you for the wrong reason. They talk crap about you on their profile, on their pages, and all this other stuff. Panels. I'm talking about pages like Facebook, but
yeah.
on their panels. And all that. I've gotten to the point where all that just petty. It's really petty.
But see, I had also got to where I was letting the opinion of others dictate how I was doing. I
Yeah.
got my name warning label for a reason. Well, by the time that I ended up in the hospital, and I'm not saying YouTube caused me to go to the hospital, but by the time I ended up at the hospital, I was too afraid to cuss on there because somebody might judge it. And you don't get a warning label for sitting there being an angel. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I sit there and I thought, when I decided to come back, so I want everybody to hear this. I'm doing it my way.
Yeah.
I don't I don't care.
You gotta stay true to you, Nina. If you don't stay true to you, if there's only 3 people watching or 3 people that take you serious, those 3 people are loyal to you, and those are the most important people. All the other
That's
people,
right. See, that's the thing about it is I got caught up in trying to placate to everybody.
it's
Oh
easy
no,
to
I'm
do.
a this one. Oh no,
It's
I'm
easy
a that
to
one.
do. I got caught up in that too. I can admit it. I got caught up in that.
And so
It's
when I
the
did make the
celebrity,
decision to
the
come back,
celebrityism of these panels where people start to tell you, "Oh, you're so smart. You're this and you're that." Nobody needs to tell you that but yourself. Because
well,
if
see,
you
and that's
can't
another thing,
if you can't believe it for yourself, 100 people in these chats can tell you, and it's not going to make a hill of beans.
I mean, the research and everything that I put in, and you've seen the research I've put in on ego depletion and all that. I don't
Yeah,
care if that's the way it happened or not. That's some valid research. You know what I'm saying? That's where my narrative comes from. But then when you turn a channel on and you hear ego depletion, okay, I have to back up and say, I didn't invent that. I didn't come up with it. I didn't, I did the research, but hey, have at it. Go with it,
you know,
because it's not that. It's bigger than me.
there is a thing called plagiarism. If you use somebody else's stuff and you claim it as your own without giving them credit. I go to school and, I can't write a paper that I saw online and take credit for it. I'll get a big O F and I might get kicked out of the university for it. And on YouTube, you're not allowed to use other people's stuff without at least giving them credit for it. Kelly's talking about watermarks, but you know what? I've seen Law and Order videos with creators' watermarks on them. And I'm like,
Oh
that's not
yeah,
yours. That is not yours. That's Law and Order. That's Law and Order. Law and Crime. That's News Nation. That's this or that. You can't put your watermark on that. But at the end of everything, if you're not happy with you, getting up on these panels ain't gonna make you happy.
exactly.
If you're not kind
But
off this camera, you're not gonna be kind on
that's
here.
one thing that I've always told myself is I have to have outside validation because I don't validate myself.
Right.
And when I came to that realization, that helped me the most.
Yeah.
When I
I mean,
realized that
that's
I
the
don't,
skinny of it all. Like my title says, fake outrage. There's a lot of creators that get on there and they have that fake outrage. Oh, I'm pissed off and this and that and the other, whatever. If you have that much involvement in a case that you're doing for true crime, that you're doing every day or every other day or once a week, whatever, if it makes you angry for 1 second, you need to stop doing it.
Thank you.
You need to stop
And
doing
see,
it.
I was putting so much effort into protecting one person, and I've never even met her, never, don't know her, don't, nothing. You know, it's not my
Right.
business.
I mean, if you got to get on here and yell into the mic the whole time, or you got to raise your voice and yell the whole hour or 2
Look,
hours or
you
3
have
hours,
with me and that. Why didn't you stop me?
I don't. I don't care if people call my channel boring. I don't care if they call it uninformative. I don't care what they say. I do like that I get some positive accolades. I'm not going to lie to you. The negative ones, call it what you want. I deleted a comment a while ago because I posted something on the community tab of that lady in the trial today that kept popping pills and drinking back there by Twiz and all that. And she did the heart thing. I said, and then we have this. I said, behind the defendant. I didn't say anything negative about Brian. And some smart ass said, it looks like your mama. See, that's crossing the line right there. That's crossing the line in my eyes, you know?
Oh, wow.
So I deleted the comment. Usually I wouldn't have deleted it, but you talk about my mama, and this is the South. You don't talk about people's mamas. I don't know how they do it in other areas of the country, but you don't talk about people's mamas in the South.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing about it is people don't want to criticize your work. They want to criticize the person or the person's family or the person's friends or criticize my research, criticize, what I put out there, but don't criticize me as a fat girl.
Right. I mean, come on.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you know what? If I really wanted to lose my channel, you're going to hear a 3-hour rant about how I feel about everybody on YouTube. Then I'm going to drop the mic, flip the
Oh
camera
God.
off, turn it off. That'll be the end of 12 gauge. I promise you. That's how I'm going to go out. You're going to know exactly what I think about you. And it ain't going to be nice. But
Boy,
I'm
be
mature,
sure that you
I'm
out
more
when you do
mature
that.
enough to do that because I don't want to have to do that. You get what I'm saying? But if I ever get to
Don't make
that
it
point,
out.
if I ever get
Don't
to that
make
point,
it
you're
out.
going to get a long stream and I'm going to tell you about yourself. And it's not going to be nice. It's not going to be calling you out. It's not going to be doing this. I'm going to tell you about yourself. I might not even have to cuss to make you look
Oh my
stupid.
gosh, the headline says Hitler is being paid off.
You get what I'm saying? I might not even cuss you to make you look
Right.
stupid. Because you know what the difference in cussing somebody out and calling them names that's immature? True people that can actually have a conversation and tell you about yourself without ever cussing you or raising their voice, those people are the scary ones.
Right.
Because you never can gauge what is going on in that brain.
Uh-huh.
And those are the scary ones. And I've ran across a couple scary ones, man, because you think, oh, they're about to cuss me out. They don't cuss you. They don't raise their voice. You're just like, oh, damn, how am I going to win this one? But I really enjoyed this, Dana. I really enjoyed this. Welcome back. I look forward to doing more videos with you. Maybe tomorrow if they do another Idaho. Maybe tomorrow or
Oh,
Friday.
we're gonna have to do it
I'm on
tomorrow.
call. I'm on call this week, so I'm kind of bound to the house and don't have real hours because I could be
Okay.
called out anytime. But next Friday, hopefully, I have a special guest coming on panel. We planned it for a while now, and it's a high level
Oh,
it's a high level guest. So
oh,
hopefully my fruition comes to light and we get some people in the chat, some people that subscribe that never seen the channel to both of ours, Put some videos out there so people know who the hell you are and what you do. Don't hide everything. Come on now. You know,
Well, I'm not privatized.
it's not about quantity. It's about quality.
So I thought,
You know what I mean?
yep.
Stop beating yourself up and worry about your health because that's the most important thing you got. Without
I
that,
know. Y'all so
you
much. I really do. And that's not just cliche. I really do appreciate the family.
don't have to appreciate it. That's who I am and that's what I'm about. And once I go to Alabama this summer,
Next time you get mad at me, let me know.
hey, if you're not too far away, I'm gonna stop by and finally meet you in person. You know, be like,
Okay.
hey Nina, this is me and this is my family and blah blah blah. You know,
That'll work.
I love Alabama.
Everybody might take your meds.
Hey, if I could relocate anywhere, you know, it's crazy. I'd relocate to Foley.
Oh, that's a beautiful area.
Yes, it
That and
is.
Dog.
Yeah, I don't care about Destin. I don't care about all those. I like Panama City, but it's getting too wild. But Foley has that slow southern feel, has great food. But that's all I got to say about that. Thank you so much in the chat for being kind and seeing us as a family. You know, that says a lot. All I
You
ask is
know,
if we're truly family, treat me like family and not the redheaded stepchild when you see me in other chats. That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
exactly. You know, that's
Have my
one thing.
back like you have my back
One
like you would have here. If we're family,
the crazy thing about it is you are. That's the reason I contacted you and said, okay,
that's all I
but that's
ask.
the way it should be done.
Don't treat me like the ugly girl that you hang out with when you ain't got your popular friends around, and then you're gonna hang out with me. But then when you see me with the popular kids, you ignore me or make fun of me. That ain't cool. That ain't cool.
See, I did not do that.
Well, like I said, I took it wrong. I butt hurt that day.
I
There was
know
a
what
lot
you're
of,
talking about
there
now.
was a lot of things that happened that week that I just got on here and say, you know what, I'm taking everybody's ranch.
Yeah, and I was just the icing on the cake.
But I've given them back. Okay, okay. I've apologized.
I don't one.
All right, all right. Well, Nina, you have a wonderful night. Hydrate.
All right,
Take.
I love y'all,
Thank you for
and
being
y'all
on.
remember, guaranteed 9 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Nina.
I mean, that's being serious. Remember that.
Well, take us out. What do I say?
I mean, I got to
What
have
do
a
I
bigger
say?
shovel.
No, not that one. The other one you say all the time.
Help me out, family.
What do I say? On the way
Maestro music.
out, Maestro, cue that music. Y'all have a wonderful night. Be safe out there.
Thank you.